We're gonna go live
All righty.
here in three, two, one. All right. Good morning, fellow traders. What is up? What is happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Traders Podcast. It is episode 26, and I am very excited to bring on Max here today. We had him. Well, I suppose he had me over at his live stream and broadcast on his channel yesterday. Man, that was a fast 3 hours. That went by quick, man.
Yeah, that was the easiest stream I've ever done, for sure. Thanks for having me on, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, show some love to Max over in the comment section here. Drop some gorillas for the guy. I am also going to be linking his YouTube channel in the comments. So, if you want to check him out, I would highly encourage you to do so. He's a great investor, great entrepreneur. You can learn a lot of good things from him. So, first off, I kind of just want to ask you, Max. Yeah, no problem, man. I want to ask you, just to give a background on who you are, to give the subs and the gorillas a little bit of a background.
Sure. I mean, basically, my whole career, if you will, is based in like entrepreneurial type things. I've owned various businesses pretty much my whole life, starting at like age 13. Starting real small with like just little solo landscaping companies. I had a little sports supplement company when I was 16 years old, and then just kind of grew that bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. By the time I was 18, I started a pool cleaning business. That's when I got my first few employees. After that point, I ended up purchasing a business that I used to work at, which was a moving company. And I grew that from like $5,000 in sales the month I bought it to about $78,000 in sales 14 months later. And
man, that just gets me going every time you say that. I heard this
yeah,
yesterday, but it's going to make me smile again, man.
yeah, I can go more in depth if you want. And
Do it, man. We got all the time in the world.
Cursory overview. Yeah, so I guess just going back a little bit on the story, I moved from Minnesota to Arizona. Spent a few months trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. I was very interested in equities and investments and things like that. But then I realized after a month or two of really diving into the research on equities, and like I basically wanted to be a mini Warren Buffett. But I realized that in order to do that, you either need a lot of cash or you need a lot of other people's cash, and I didn't have either. So I was like, all right, I got to go make some money myself first, and then figure out how I'm gonna, turn my investment into much larger funds through stock markets and business purchases and things like that. So I ended up starting a pool cleaning business, which is like, I mean, if you're thinking about starting a business or you want to be like a self-employed individual, especially if you don't want employees, like that is such a great business to start. It only costs like $1,000 to start if you have a vehicle, that is. I did it in a little SE. I didn't even have a pickup truck. So I would just drive around like breathing in chemicals all day long. But, but you make it work.
Man, that made me laugh.
Super easy
That's
to
not a good thing to laugh at, but go ahead.
It's super easy to start. I always think like if I lost everything, I would start a pool cleaning business again. But it's super easy to start. Once you figure out how to just clean a pool, which you can find everything on YouTube, that's what I did. Funny story. The very first time I ever cleaned a pool was for a client that was paying me to do it. I'd never cleaned a pool before that. And I just was like acting like I knew, what I was doing. Some people might not
Dude,
like that, but
make it till you make it. I hear you. I got a story after you're done. I'll tell you. It's about the same.
But another thing I like about it is, you can make well over $100,000 a year with no employees, or you can expand it to have employees if you want. And they're really easy to sell. I've sold my pool cleaning business twice, and you get about $1,000 per account. And like, for instance, my marketing cost to pick up each account was $30. So I would 30x my money when I sold it. Plus I would,
those are some fat margins, man.
The whole time.
That's good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that the pool cleaning business was that lucrative. That's pretty crazy. It just goes to show you how far you can really take yourself with an entrepreneurial mindset and just working hard. I think a lot of people, especially myself included, when I was 15, 16 years old, I really didn't understand business at all. It's not really something that was taught to me. So where did you like get this drive to dig into that, to like figure out you wanted to get down that avenue?
Yeah, so this it kind of started out. Well, there's a combination of two things that I mean, it's hard to know exactly why you do anything, but the things I think kind of influenced are both in my family. I had, in my relatives and things like that, there were several people who own their own business. So I think from the start, it didn't seem like an impossible thing to me. It seemed like an option, and I think for a lot of people, like college seems like the only option. Like if you want to make good money, you have to go to college. So at least I knew that was an option because I knew people who own businesses. So that definitely was part of it. And second, I got a job when I was like 13 years old at a farm, and I got paid less than minimum wage because farms don't have to pay even minimum wage. It was $6 an hour,
Max,
or maybe
I feel ya.
$6.25.
I was from Minnesota too, man. I worked my fair share of farm jobs.
Yeah, dude.
It
was rough, but I was like literally 13 years old driving this big skid steer, like hauling around cow crap.
I've done it before, man. I've done it before. Hey, everybody in the comment section, you better shame Max for swearing on my channel. That's game over.
But all that for like $6 an hour. And after a few months, I was like, I'd work like a 13-hour shift and make like $80. And I was just like, and eventually I was just like, okay, I got to figure out a way to make more an hour. And what I did was I just made up these little flyers at my school's computer lab, printed off like 50 of them, put them on all my neighbors' door, and basically just said, I'll do anything for $15 an hour. And I got a few people who signed up, and that was like the real spark of like my entrepreneurial kind of journey. Because I was like, overnight, I just made 2.5 times more an hour than I was making before. And that kind of spun into like lawn mowing and things like that, which eventually spun into pool cleaning. And then the pool cleaning didn't last that long. And then the moving company, storage, nationwide kind of business.
Dang, man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's I would have killed to know where you lived back when we were both living in Minnesota, because I mow lawns. I was a guy that liked mowing lawns, and it's kind of funny that you said that your first client, you just kind of faked your way through it. You're just like, yeah, this is my first time, but it is what it is. I got my first ever bartending job when I was young. It's kind of an under the table gig, but I'm not going to say names beyond that. Anyways, I just said, yeah, I've got experience. So you fake it till you make it in some scenarios, but it's good. That's really good stuff.
Yeah. You really have to just, fake it. Yeah. If any of you weren't in the stream yesterday, we did with Trey, we found out that we both lived in the same city,
dude,
and went to the same school. And we were on the same track team 1 year apart, and we've never met each other before.
It's so crazy. Literally, me and Max both went to St. Cloud State University in Minnesota, central Minnesota. He went there in 2014, and I went there in 2015. So that's absolutely nuts. Missed you by a year, by 1 year, man.
Yeah. I didn't even know you were from Minnesota until we started the stream, and I just saw someone comment that you were from Minnesota.
Royalton, man. That's where I graduated high school. Yeah,
that was wild.
Crazy stuff.
We were like, yeah, we definitely have been in the same track meets in high school, and like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, man. So people in here want you to finish on how you started the pool business.
Oh, sure. So just how I started it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. What just how everything worked out with the pool business.
Yeah, sure. So started that pool cleaning business. I grew it to actually, while I was growing it, I got a part-time job at a moving company. And, that was for $14-15 an hour. And I just had that, to help pay my bills as I was growing the company. I needed to make $1,000 a month or whatever to get by. And first month of the pool cleaning business, I got 0 clients, by the way. Like, it wasn't like straight out of the gate, I was making money. I had to figure out how to get clients. Eventually I figured that out. By like month 3, I had maybe 30 or so clients. And that was enough to quit my moving company job, focus full-time on the business, and really grow that up. And maybe, I don't remember the exact time frame, but 3 to 5 months later, the pool cleaning business probably now had 50 to 60 accounts, which is fairly full-time. You could probably do 50, 60 accounts in 3 days. If you're really working it, maybe 2.5 days a week. And at that point, the owner of the moving company I used to work at, who I'd never met before, he owned like 4 or 5 locations across the country. He came into town trying to figure out what exactly he wanted to do with the business, because there was a change in management and it was just tanking really fast. It wasn't a big company ever, but this new manager, I guess, was just lazy or whatever the reason was. He wasn't doing a good job, and it was unprofitable at the time. So he came into town trying to figure out what he wanted to do. Was he going to close it up? Was he going to sell it? And some of the guys who were working there were like, hey, maybe you should talk to this guy. He used to work here. He's entrepreneurial. Maybe he would want to buy it from you or something like that. He owns a pool cleaning business. So I just get a text one day from this number saying he owns the moving company, and he's wondering if I would be interested in buying it from him. And straight out of the gate, I'm like, this seems weird, like kind of too good to be true.
Yeah, right.
It just seemed off to me. Like, my initial reaction was just to like ignore it, honestly. And I was really skeptical. And I think he maybe even offered like, I'll give you $100 just to meet me or something like that, because
Mm.
I think he could tell I was really skeptical, which obviously just makes you more skeptical. But
That
I
sounds like a
don't
guy
think it
giving
ever
candy out of
came.
a van, man. I don't know
Yeah,
about that.
but I knew who he was, so it wasn't
Right.
just a complete stranger. But I don't think it ever came down to that. I ended up just saying, oh no, I'll meet with you, whatever. So I met with him. He talked about the company and how he wants to sell it. I still was like, this just seems too good to be true to me. I ended up talking to a few lawyers, like doing as much diligence as I possibly could beforehand. And I was like, okay, I guess this is legitimate. I don't, the sales, there's some sales. I basically bought it for what's called an asset sale. I just bought it for the price of the trucks. So there wasn't a huge risk on that end, except for the fact that it was all my money. Like I had like 17 grand saved up at that point, and I had to
How old were
spend
you?
everything. I was 19 at the time.
Man, oh, that's
Yeah,
sick, dude. That's awesome.
yeah,
When I was
yeah. I was
19,
19.
I was in a much different financial situation than that. I think I had negative $20,000. That's gold. Go on though. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you. I just want to point that out. That's
everything I've
incredible.
done. Yeah, everything I've done has been super early. Like, I went to college at 17. I, moved to Arizona at 18, started my pool cleaning business at 18, then I had the moving company at 19. So I ended up purchasing it November 2015. So it's been just over 5 years now that I've owned it. But yeah, like I said, we first month, $5,000 in sales. And I was just like, okay, I literally don't have an option to not be successful with this because it's all my savings. It's like my everything. So I had to
Yeah,
make
right,
this thing
right.
work. So like, I mean, that next like 14, 15 months is, I don't know if it's humanly possible to like work more hours than I did in that time. I mean, I was like going on pretty much every single job. I was taking calls. I was doing payroll at night because it was like completely legit. There wasn't like under the table paying guys. There wasn't like anything like that. So I was doing the books myself, like QuickBooks myself, like literally everything. We're talking like 16 hours a day, every single day for like 15 months or something, which I think was necessary, but in the long run, I think actually hurt me because I ended up getting like some stomach ulcers from and just other issues
Oof.
because just no rest. But luckily, that's not a problem anymore. That's all solved. But yeah, like I said, we took it from $5,000 in sales at that location to about 78,000. 14 or 15 months later. And then from there, I opened 3 out of state locations, one in San Diego. Well, I guess the first ones was Salt Lake City and Austin, Texas. We were going to open one at a time, but for whatever reason, how the timeline worked out, they opened 1 week apart from each other, like 2 out of state locations. And that was absolutely chaotic. And then about probably 6 months later, opened the San Diego one. So at this point, I mean, we were going like gangbusters, like 15 or so trucks, 92 employees, I think, at its peak.
That's
Um,
some straight up Warren Buffett stuff, man.
yeah, dude,
I feel
it was
balling.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like I was like just trying to take over the world and just capture market share, basically. Um, but eventually I realized that's not the best strategy for me anyways. I would spend like a month at a time in Austin, and then I'd spend 2 weeks in Salt Lake City, like just marketing, talking to people, trying to hire people, trying to deal with managers, just deal with BS. In San Diego, I had like a truck stolen one time, and I had to spend like 5 days tracking it down. And that's a whole story we could get into. But it was just chaotic. Like sales were just absolutely through the roof. I mean, we did like close to $2 million in sales in like I think my third year of business.
How much of that,
And
what were your margins like? You don't mind me asking.
yeah, that's the thing. So like my Arizona location, super profitable, 20 to 35% margin depending on the year and how much
Yeah, there we
investment,
go.
reinvestment. My out of state locations, probably, yeah, I mean, they were just starting out, 5 to 10% margins. So they weren't nearly as profitable as like my core, my baby. And plus they were taking away time from my core and just adding stress. But I ended up selling the out of state locations and just focusing on my Arizona location. And last year, I opened up a storage facility at probably the worst time possible because it was the end of February 2020. And
Right. Yeah,
So
that's tough
that was
time.
a
Tough
slow
time.
start, but yeah, that was a slow start. But by the end of summer, it was totally fine, and worked out. And eventually, in that story, I started a YouTube channel as well. I suppose I don't want to spend too much time just
No,
rambling.
you're good, man. There was something you said in your live stream yesterday that I wanted kind of wanted you to reiterate. It was you
Sure.
talking about how I think it was the first 1 or 2 years that you started your pool business. You didn't take a dollar. You reinvested all of that money back into the company, right?
Yeah, that was actually with the moving company, with the
Yeah,
pool
right,
cleaning
right, right,
business.
right.
Um, I actually used the pool cleaning business was much smaller than the moving company, pretty much always. I think at its peak, it probably did $6,000 or $7,000 in a month, which which might sound like a lot, but when you compare it to, like, I'm always kind of trying to look for the next step up. So like I had the landscaping company, and I would make like $4,000 a month, but it was all profit, and it was me doing the work. And then I had the pool cleaning business, and it would make 6-7 grand a month, and I would profit 3-4 grand, but I wasn't doing much. And that's what I paid myself with, was just the pool cleaning business. And then I had the moving company, which, like I said, within the first year or so,
Just
we
reinvested,
were,
yeah.
yeah, we were in the high five digits per month, and 20-30% profit. Um, I just kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So with the moving company, my goal always was just to grow, like reinvest every dollar I possibly could into it. And my strategy was, I actually didn't put any money into stocks or anything like that. Actually, up until about 2 years ago, because I figured there's no way I could get a higher return in the stock market than I could just plowing the money back into my business. So I was completely like, let me just pour every dollar back into the business. And yeah, I didn't take a single cent from the business for at least 3 years. And even to this day, besides like paying for gas in my car, pretty much every dollar has stayed in that business, just because I'm constantly reinvesting and trying to grow it. And now it's at the point where it's pretty much delegated. I could be an absentee owner if I wanted to. I could spend 5-10 hours a week on it if I wanted to, and make a reliable 150,000 or so a year where it sits without any growth.
That's incredible, man. Honestly, the reason I asked that question is because it reminded me of Elon Musk. So, what was the company he worked with before he started up Tesla? Do you remember? Was it
PayPal?
PayPal? Yeah. So the money that he
Yeah.
made from PayPal, he didn't keep a penny of it. He used all that to
Hmm.
start up Tesla. And honestly, I read this straight from the horse's mouth. He basically said he had to borrow money to pay rent, which is absolutely insane. But it's like that same mindset of
Yeah.
even if you've got hundreds of millions of dollars, which is it's still applicable here, right? That pool business,
Hmm.
starting up your moving business, he turned those millions of dollars into billions of dollars by reinvesting. So it's like the idea
Right.
of that compounding effect and putting money back into yourself and letting it work for you in a sense. So
Right.
it just made me think of that, man. I wanted to point out that similarity. Not calling Elon Musk, but I haven't seen you guys in the same room before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe someday. I got 25 years to get close to his markers. It's
Yeah,
a
you're
good,
gonna get on the Joe Rogan podcast
good
next.
reach goal. Yeah.
Man, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, fortune favors the bold. I know that's a reiterated point, but it's definitely true. Every single big leap I've ever made that I did a bunch of research on first has been the best decisions. Big leaps almost always work out. It seems, if you build it, they'll come, kind of thing.
Totally, man. So I guess a good place to go now would be with your entrepreneurship background. How have you taken that forward with investing? So like being on your channel yesterday, we were chatting on the live stream. I noticed you've got an incredible background on balance sheets and income statements, which is something that on my side of the channel, I focus on a couple different numbers, but you've definitely got that thing down packed. So I think there's a huge opportunity here to just chat about it, honestly. And I'd be really open to hear what you have to say, and I'm sure everybody else here would too, for sure.
Yeah. I should come up with a term for it, something like realistic finances or something like that, because I mean, what happens when you own any kind of business is you build an intuition with the numbers. I've always been, a kind of a numbers guy, if you will, whatever that means,
Yeah.
But I read several books when I was very young on how to like read through financial statements, what to look for, certain ratios that are good. but I don't think I had a real grasp of what any of that meant. I think they were just numbers to me until I actually owned a business. And then once you own a business, you think of these things in a different way, like an inventory turnover ratio. That meant nothing to me when I was 18 years old reading about it, but now I think about it, and I think about stuff just sitting in my warehouse and how I would want that to spin through, and what ratios would make more sense. And it just builds a more realistic picture. Like yesterday, we were talking about CTRM, and there's people who think that they're just going to go and buy 70 vessels next week because they bought 4 or 5 in the last several weeks. And I was explaining how just referencing this to my moving company, which is obviously smaller than this national national carry. Not that much smaller compared to their most recent annual sales, but
Yeah.
probably next year it'll be much smaller. But I was saying how I could add 3 or 4 trucks and change nothing management wise, but if I were to add 30 trucks, 50 trucks, then I'm going to have to add completely new systems. You're not going
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to be able to run things off spreadsheets anymore. You're going to have systems for that. You're going to have middle managers. You're going to have a system and process for literally everything. And everything's going to have to be streamlined. And all that takes time. We're talking like years. So it's just kind of I guess, realistic financing, just because I've been there, basically.
So let's talk a little bit more about CTRM, Caster Maritime. This is something that we talked about over on your channel, and I did a lot of the blabbering. And it's your turn to be the guest today, my man. So I'd like to hear your potential for growth with CTRM. What do you think you need to see out of them besides just acquire vessels? Because that's obvious, right? The more vessels they acquire, the more dry bulk cargo they're going to be able to transport across the sea. Just like a Bitcoin mining company, right? The more computers they've got, the more Bitcoin they can mine. But beyond that, what is it going to take for them to really push out a penny stock realm? Because personally, that's a stock that I've been presenting to the channel. I think it's got a lot of potential for growth, because I can see the demand for that never really going away, right? You're never going to be able to transport everything solely by airplane or something across the ocean, So I'm done talking now. It's your turn. You're good to go, man.
Well, first off, I love simple businesses. And I get that basically from Warren Buffett. He loves simple businesses. I think he says he wants to own a business that a ham sandwich could run. And
I've never heard that. That's good. That's gold.
And it's so true. And that's why I'm always very wary of like high tech, biotech, things that I just frankly don't understand, because I'm not an expert in those realms. And I don't know, if something's in a phase 2 trial, what are the likelihoods of it getting to phase 3? I just don't know. But I can understand shipping one thing from point A to point B, or manufacturing some kind of dog toy or insurance, or things like that are more tangible. They're easier to understand. So that's one thing I really do like about CTRM, that it's a unsexy business, and I think those typically aren't hyped. Like you don't see
which makes this play pretty atypical.
Right? Yeah. Yes, you don't see a garbage company coming up in the finance news very often, but those things are cash cows, for instance. So I really like that it's a relatively simple business. I don't want to take away from the management or anything like that, because no business is easy to run. But they can add vessels and hopefully increase profit. So a couple questions that I would want the answers to as far as CTRM goes is, how much revenue do they increase for each additional vessel? How much profit do they increase for each additional vessel? And how much administrative costs increase for each additional vessel? And if those numbers make sense, especially with how much cash they have on hand or available liquidity, it could potentially, make a lot of sense for the long term. But the fact that it has been hyped on YouTube, Reddit, things like that, always makes me assume that it might be overvalued, and maybe there's someone else, some competitor that could be a better play. But yeah, that would be the main questions I'm looking at. How profitable is each additional vessel? And is there synergistic costs? Like, if I were to buy another moving company, I wouldn't need to hire, I have 3 office staff people. If I were to buy another moving company the exact same size, I wouldn't need to hire 3 more office staff. I'd maybe need to hire 1. So the admin cost to sales ratio actually gets better. So the question is, does that also work for these vessels?
Yeah, man, shoot. That's stuff that honestly I don't even. I mean, I think about it briefly in my mind. I think they acquire these vessels, and because of that, they're gonna be able to be more profitable. But it does really come down to the margins as well, and like the spreadsheet side of things. Because like you were saying, you got 4 or 5 vessels. It's different than having 30 or 40 more. Which at that point you have to change the entire business plan. What's really interesting about CTRM to me, sorry for interrupting you, I'll let you go in just a sec.
No, you're fine.
What's interesting about CTRM is, like you were saying, it's not a sexy play, but for whatever reason, this stock is just all that people talk about. Like, it's a stock that I see all over StockTwits and Reddit. In my Discord, people are always talking about it. It's for whatever reason or another, it's just taken off, ever since it was 30 cents.
Right. Yeah. I get it mentioned all the time. And one thing that I always like to ask too, because I mean, I'm sure you get asked, what do you think about X, Y, and Z company every single day? I always like to ask, are you trying to hold it short or long term? Because my thoughts on that are completely different. Long term CTRM is very likely overvalued as of right now. I don't know exactly, because long term it's going to be based on their profits. So, I don't know exactly the amount of sales they'd have to increase to match their market cap right now. But my guess is it's probably 40, 50x or something like that, which is very hard to do for a company, like just a shipper. But if you're holding short term and there's all this hype around it, that's a totally different question.
Totally, man. Rock on. So you asked me about some plays that I was really into here yesterday, and I'd be interested to know some stocks that you've got long-term positions in, because I think that you really do focus on those non-sexy plays, and I bet you there's some good ones that people could definitely take some value from if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the companies you really like.
Yeah, let me pull up my brokerage account here. Pretty much. So this is kind of funny, but I realized this 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was the first time I've ever.
You still there, Max? I think you cut out. Probably been about that 30 minutes. So Max's camera resets after 30 minutes. We're going to let him get his camera up and rolling again. But in the meantime, he will be back here. Running times. Are you asking how fast I've run before? So I used to run back in the day. I had a pretty solid, I'd say my thing was probably like the 10K for sure. Yeah, I know he's frozen. I'm going to get him on the phone here real quick and just chat with him and let him know that he is frozen. Oh, come on. So we got to wait for Max to get back on here. I am not entirely sure what just happened. The worst time. Well, that looks goofy. All right. My apologies, guys. Give me just 1 second here. I'm going to try and straighten this out. All right. So Max is logging back on. His internet cut out. I know the screen looks goofy. This will not last for very long. I promise you. He will be back here. All right. Hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
I'm not sure what's going on. Ironically, the Wi-Fi at my house, I have it named Walmart Wi-Fi.
That's gold. I love it.
It's actually good.
It's sure acting like some Walmart Wi-Fi, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not sure where I cut out. I thought you cut out.
No, I mean,
I was the problem.
You just ended up freezing. That's all it was.
Okay, what I was saying is 2 weeks ago, I realized this. It was the first time I've ever sold a stock. Like, I've literally only bought and hold.
Your camera is not filming at the moment. There we go. So Max's camera shuts off after 30 minutes.
All right, well, there's the tech issues for the day.
There we go. Now we're cooking with Crisco, baby.
All right, the world doesn't want me to say that line, so I'm just going to move on.
I guess so.
So here's some real long-term positions I have. I bought Aflac maybe 4 years ago. That's up 60%. It was a real good deal.
The one with the duck?
Yeah.
That's sick. All right.
It's probably not a bargain anymore, but it was at the time. 60% in 4 years, I can't complain.
Oh,
Obviously, it's
solid.
not 100% gains in a day like a lot of people are searching for. Um, Berkshire Hathaway, of course, my main man, Warren Buffett. I got to invest in his company. I'm up 25% on that, and I'll
When'd you
buy into
invest in
that
that?
periodically over the last 2-3 years. I'll plop in a few $1,000s here, a few $1,000s there. Whenever the price to book ratio is floating around 1, I'll buy some more of it. Let's see here. Southwest Airlines. This is kind of a more speculative long-term play, but I just like them both. A combination of I've gotten a lot of free flights for them. So every time I get a free flight, I have a buddy who's a flight attendant, and I fly non-rev sometimes. So every time I get a free flight, I'll just buy the equivalent of a ticket price in their stock, just as kind of a thanks.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Southwest Airlines. I'm actually pretty interested in that as a recovery play in terms of COVID and quarantine. What are your thoughts on how that's going to look in the midterm, like the next 3 to 6 months? I'll tell you my opinion, but I want to hear yours. I always talk. That's
a good question. So because of my good buddy works there, I kind of have a little bit more insight that on what's going on. But one thing I really like about them after this whole COVID thing, obviously no airlines have fared super well because of that, but they're really capitalizing on it. And for 2 reasons. So they were just coming down off of the whole issue with their 747 MAX planes. They had the biggest fleet of those out of anyone, and that was the planes that were grounded because 2 of them crashed, and now that ban is lifted. So they had the biggest fleet of those. Those planes were just sitting there, and now they're available. And so a combination of those planes being back, and with the pandemic, a lot of airlines have pulled out of certain airports, like maybe they're less popular airports. And what this does at an airport, there's only so much space for so many carriers. Southwest is just gobbling up new locations like crazy this year because other airlines are pulling out of airports. I don't know the exact number of locations they've added this year, but it's significant. And they just keep expanding more and more locations. And also they have one of the best average customers per flight ratio. Like it's something like, I don't remember the exact number, but something like 40% higher than American Airlines. So each flight they do is much more profitable. Plus they have less debt than any other airline in the industry. So there's just a lot of reasons I like it. So in the medium term, I mean, it's really hard to say 3 to 6 months. I don't know where COVID's going to be at 3 to 6 months, but I say 2 years from now, they're going to be in a really golden position.
Definitely, man. Especially once COVID and quarantine hit, you just saw those airlines, the hotel plays, anything that allows people, like the cruise ship companies, all of them just got smacked. And like if you had bought in like a month after COVID hit, I don't think you could have got a better price on pretty much any of those companies. They've got such huge opportunity for recovery.
Yeah, I timed it kind of poorly because
we've all been there.
I made a significant investment in January. And then, of course, it dropped by like 45% or something like that. So I added an additional probably 60% to what I had bought in originally, and now I'm up 25% in the portfolio. So in the long run, it's okay.
Yeah, man, solid. It's so hard to time the bottom sometimes. I spend a lot of time looking at charts, and I'll think this is the bottom. This is where it should be sitting. And I did this with MVIS like 3 or 4 days ago. I was like, I feel like it's not going to drop much lower than this. And then the next day it was like $1.50 lower. It's like, God dang it, dude. It's tough. It's tough.
I did that with Tilray.
Yeah, we had that talk, man.
Yeah,
it's tough. It can be so hard.
Another significant investment I have. If there's anyone here who listens to my streams, they're probably sick of me talking about this, but it's Tyson Foods.
No, not sick of it. Say it. I say the same thing every single video. So the first 2 minutes is basically watching the same video over and over.
Yeah, Tyson Foods. I would love for someone to find a reason not to invest in Tyson Foods because I just can't find it. I want someone to tell me why I'm wrong here, but I just don't see it in the numbers, in the market cap. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, man, we were talking about that on your stream yesterday, and I was actually like surprised that I haven't seen people talk about it. Maybe it's just because it's not one of those sexy plays that has potential for 100% run in a month or 2 months or whatever. But I mean, everything about it looks pretty slam dunk. You might as well talk about it here a little bit.
Yeah, so Tyson Foods is one of the only industry giants, multi-billion dollar industry, holders that hasn't really recovered from COVID. They're still down like 30 some percent since the beginning of COVID, and their sales aren't really down. The only kind of ding to Tyson is they had a bunch of additional capital expenditures just to keep workers safe at their plants, because they have these massive like multi-thousand person plants that workers are right next to each other. So obviously there was some issues there. In the beginning of the pandemic, they did have some workers get sick, which obviously is a big ding in the media, but ultimately okay. And they spent like hundreds of millions of dollars to help prevent that in the long run. And they also saw a ding because there was like some manager who had who like bet with another employee which one of the workers would get COVID first. Which, if you think of this from a perspective of just like a dude,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem, that seems to me just like a dude thing.
Yeah, totally.
Like, obviously it's a bad look, but it actually really hurt their stock price. And I think like, my employees probably did that, like,
yeah, right. I mean, we
like,
do that in the Army for sure, without a doubt.
yeah, I'm sure it was just
Yeah.
like a joking, like, oh, that guy's kind of reckless, I bet he'll get COVID. But that's just my opinion on it. But that hurt their stock price significantly. And that's honestly the kind of thing I'm looking for in the news. As a long-term investor, you almost want one of those things to come up every once in a
Oh
while.
yeah, because then you're getting the company undervalued, big time.
You're
They're
just getting a little
blips.
bargain.
Exactly,
Because
man.
that's not going to decrease their revenue. If it does,
No.
it's not going to do anything significant. Their fundamentals will stay the same. But yeah, they service something like 20 to 30% of pork, chicken, and beef in the country, and like 40% or 50% of all restaurants. So it's also a recovery play. Once restaurants open back up, they're not going to change meat suppliers just randomly. They're just going to go back to the suppliers that they're using, and they're going to blow up once the restaurants are back open. And a good thing too, their sales haven't really gone down because of the pandemic, because instead of going to restaurants, people are still eating, probably eating more than ever.
Yeah,
They're just
right,
eating
right.
at home. So they just spun some of their facilities from producing products for restaurants to just producing more for grocery stores. So their sales haven't really changed a whole lot on that front.
I kind of wanted to touch on one thing that you had just been talking about, which is those hit pieces that come out on companies. I think a lot of people, and I find this very interesting. It'd be interesting to hear your opinion. I think I already obviously know it, but just to touch on it more, is some people really freak out when you get hit pieces that come out on companies. So like one thing that comes to my mind right now is Fuel Cell, ticker symbol FCEL. That's a company that I've been in and out of a couple of times here. I got in back when it was about $7, and I took some profits on it. It was at 25. And it hit $20 for the first time. And this hit piece comes out saying, hey guys, you need to sell out of this stock. It's garbage. It's going to hit $10. And within 2 days, it gave back like 50% of its run over a 2-week period of time. And some people freak out. Like I'll get people that'll message me and be like, man, is it over? Like, is Fuel Cell a dead cat? Is this a dead cat? I love saying it's not a dead cat, man. That's like, that's my slogan now. But, I always like telling people that those are blips. Like those hit pieces, or when you got direct offerings, or when you've got those issues that come up with companies, right? If it doesn't change the fundamental value of the company, right? So like Microvision, for instance, there's so many people that short that company, and there's so many hit pieces that'll come out saying this is garbage, this is a 10-cent stock, it doesn't deserve to be $20, right? But if you've got like I was saying, the conviction in the company, I've already been rambling. You get where I'm going with this. It'd be interesting to hear your take on those news articles, and like, how do you sift through what's important and what's not?
Yeah, that's a good question. And also, I kind of wonder, the real question might be not so much what's important to you and what's not. It's what's important to the general public. What's going to make the general public scared? Because I probably have a higher tolerance for some article about like I said, the betting pool at a Tyson plant, where I just see that I'm like, nah, that's not a big deal. But the overall market might say, oh, that's a huge deal, because whatever reason, because the stock price goes where investors think other people are going to think it's going to go. It's like
Sentiment.
one step back.
Yeah.
It's one step back. To me, it's all about just doing that diligence up front. If you know it's a good company and then a hit piece comes out, you're going to be like, this is still a good company, time to buy.
That's right. Money,
So
man.
that's my opinion.
Dude, people are liking you. I've seen people calling you Jesus. I hope you dig that. That's good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, we get stock Jesus, stonk Jesus, stimulus Jesus,
Stimmy
you name
Jesus.
it.
I love it. I'm just gonna read off a couple of these super chats just to recognize people that
Mhm.
that donated. Thank you to I Am a Bot, Maria, and John. They all three said they're digging this live stream. Desert Maid and Essential Hard Worker are both asking about CTRM. So the first question here is, what is his price target on CTRM? How long are you holding? And then the second one is, what is going on with CTRM? Robinhood wouldn't let me purchase more shares on Friday. They said not enough available. What does this mean for next week price and your price swing trade opinion? So I could probably answer that second one. If you want to give your analysis in some way on where you think CTRM is going to be going in terms of price. As I mentioned, people are very interested in that stock.
Mhm. I don't
Short
want to
term,
give
we'll
a
say
price
short term.
target. Yeah, I think there's a lot of hype around it. I mean, maybe you'd probably be a better person to ask about short term. Using the Fibonacci sequence and see where exactly it's dropped
Right.
to and what kind of run it has to go in the short run. Because I mean, in the short run, I might as well flip a coin and
That's true.
guess as far as my knowledge goes. I think in the long run, ultimately we'll see it go down to a more down to earth PDE, but the management will probably increase sales. So, it'll meet somewhere in the middle, I think. In the short run, there's a lot of hype around it. So this might be the next one that really pops, because I've just hearing more and more about it every week, it seems.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, it's crazy how much it's grown. It's gone from I've been talking about it on the channel since it was 30 cents, and we saw it hit just about $2 for the first time ever, which is absolutely insane. Honestly, giving price targets on hype stocks per se can be really hard because you can't predict how much volume and volatility is going to come into the stock. Like there'll be some days where CTRM will see, maybe I don't know, 100 million in volume, but then there'll be another day following that has 800 million in volume. How can you predict that happens? It's so hard.
Right.
Whereas like when you're looking at something like Microvision, right? Microvision's volume is pretty much consistent day over day over day. So I can look at that with a technical analysis perspective and be like, just based on what we've seen in trends, right? We can say that's where it's going to likely go. That's where it's going to pull back to. This is where the potential is. But like those stocks that are so volatile and hard to move, right? It's just tough. It's tough. I think that in the short term, it can move pretty fast, though. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I can say when we were looking at it yesterday, we noticed the correlation of the news of them purchasing vessels and the stock price. Obviously, it's going to go up when there's good news. But what we saw is the price went up like 80, 90% every time they had that announcement, and then dropped about 50%. So if you're the first to see that announcement, you could probably expect some kind of run up, maybe not 80,
definitely.
90% every time. And just be cognizant that, you're going to see a run up and then maybe a 50% decline on that run up. It seemed that's happened 3-4 times or something like that.
I think it's happened even more than that, man. It's crazy, and they've been buying vessels like you would not believe, up the wazoo, man. It's I feel like every single week they're buying one or two, which is a lot because I've been tracking those guys for a while, and they've just really been picking it up, which is surprising because I don't think they've done that many direct offerings, so I don't feel like they're raising that much money.
Yeah, they could be selling corporate stock.
That could be it too,
and getting some cash. Getting some cash from that. Obviously, that's limited, dilutes their ownership. So you only want to do so much of that.
Right.
But they might be smarter than us and be doing that, knowing that, all right, eventually this price is going to come back down to earth, and we can just buy those shares back at 25% or whatever.
Right, man. So the other question about CTRM, I can answer this unless you want to add anything to it, Max. It's what is going on with CTRM? Robinhood wouldn't let me purchase more shares on Friday. They said not enough available. So my 2 cents for that is if the float that is available on CTRM, meaning that the amount of shares that are available for trading is too low and your order is too high, they might not execute your trade. So I have seen, screenshots for certain stocks, like I've seen it with CTRM, I've seen it with AMC, where people won't be able to go long or short on the stock because there's not enough available shares to trade. And my conclusion on that is because CTRM's short utilization rate is 100%, or at least it was a couple of days ago, meaning that it's a very heavily shorted stock. So the amount of available shares for trading is just not very high. So that makes it, pretty subject to volatility. The volatility is going to really help drive that price value. Either up or down. It goes both ways, sadly. But if you get buyers that step in, man, that's really gonna be pretty violent movement for sure.
that makes me wonder how we're not seeing the price go up 500% or something like that if there's all this buying pressure. It makes me think there's another factor in play or something.
Man, you're starting to open up a bag of wax that I don't know if you want to open up, man. Some people call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. I mean, you watched that 9-hour stream with Vlad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh,
Right.
dude! There's so much sketchy stuff that happens. It's insane.
Right. I don't see any reason why an order should be declined because of lack of available float. To me, it should just sit at the clearinghouse until there's enough shares that were sold. I mean,
Right.
obviously I'm not 100% on the inner workings, but it doesn't make sense to me why that would happen.
It doesn't make sense, man. I mean, honestly, I think you're gonna see quite a few lawsuits coming up from some of the stuff that's been happening over the last month. I mean, we've already seen some of them start to really form. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure Robinhood's got quite a few different, situations on their
Right.
hands. And this is definitely going to keep adding to the case for sure. I mean, I've talked about it before. I'm sure you already heard, but my Fidelity account, I think Robinhood did this too. 212 did this
Mhm.
as well. I had people tweeting at me saying that they just ended up liquidating because they didn't have collateral, which is just
Mhm.
like absurd to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
how's that possible? How's that possible? Because those guys should have teams, like legal teams who manage risk that say, based on worst case scenario, if this stock gets really volatile, we get this much volume, we need to have this much cash on the side, right? So that we can make
Mhm.
these orders get filled. And that just blows my mind. That they were not, you know what I mean? It's mind
Right.
blowing.
Yeah. So when you had it liquidated, how long was it in your account before it was liquidated? Was it under like that 2-day clearinghouse period?
So I was holding those stocks for it would have been like 15 hours, and I wasn't trading that
Okay.
on margin or leverage.
Hmm.
That was a cash position. So that's what's incredibly strange about that. And I was not the only person that happened to. Like when I
Right.
tweeted about that afterwards, I had like 15, 20 people that were messaging me and saying, dude, I had my Fidelity account liquidated at the exact same time. There was like 11:24 a.m. or something like that at the lowest
Hmm.
point of the day. So to me, it was like Fidelity and Robinhood trying to manage risk and save money for themselves. You know what I mean?
Hmm. What I assume happened is there's like multiple checkpoints along the road after you click buy. You
Right.
click buy, you get that order confirmation. That's just checkpoint one of maybe 10. And then, it goes to the clearinghouse. It goes into some kind of escrow, gets pulled from another clearinghouse. What I'm guessing happened is it somewhere in that stage, because there's that 2-day clearinghouse waiting period that caused a lot of these issues,
Definitely.
fundamentally at least. The decisions that were made because of those issues, we could debate on whether those those were good decisions or not. But I'm thinking your order probably wasn't actually processed, and they kicked it out, even though on your account it says those funds are yours, because in normal circumstances that happens. I'm not saying that it's
Yeah.
right that it happened, but just
Man,
trying
that's
to think of
whack.
why.
That's whack. And
I kind of had the reverse happen of that.
you made money?
Whatever that D Day. Well, no, whatever that D Day was, like December 28th, or I mean January 28th, or whatever that day was, where Robinhood was causing all those problems. I tried to put an order in for AMC at like $9 a share, and Schwab denied my trade. It didn't go through, and I was like, well, I guess they're denying trades too. And then maybe 4 or 5 hours later, I get a notification that the trade was processed at like $12.50 a share.
That
So it
makes
went
sense.
through. It went through at like 30-40% higher than what I was trying to buy it at. So I'm like, oh, cool, thanks, Schwab.
Well, now I'm
And
gonna lose
now,
money.
it's
Yeah,
now
right,
it's down
right.
50% or whatever.
Man, I'm telling you. We could talk about AMC. I'm sure there are some people who are here in the chat. I've seen people asking about AMC quite a bit. Who'd want to hear your opinion, but I see
Mhm.
quite a bit of fundamental value in AMC as a company itself. I think there's a lot of actual upside, regardless of a squeeze potential, and regardless
Mhm.
of an Amazon acquisition. And to me, they raised a lot of money. They raised like $700 million with some offerings that they did when the stock price is really trading well. I think once this opens back up, you're gonna have a lot of potential for opening the movies up again. They've been talking about
Mhm.
VR and AR in the movie theaters, right? I'd be interested to hear your opinion and where you can see AMC growing just as a fundamental and numbers based perspective.
Mhm. Well, I own shares of AMC still. I haven't sold. I don't have a huge position. It's like 306 shares or something like that.
Hey, skin is
I
skin,
think
man.
Yeah, I think I'm still down $1,600 or something like that. So I feel the pain of everyone who's down. Um, I think there's definitely a chance of a recovery. Obviously, it's a risk. I'm not even sure if we want to say there's a 50% chance or not of some kind of full recovery, because there's just so many factors at play that you can't just look at the numbers or even ask someone and get an answer to, because part of the problem is we have all these people who are like, yeah, I want to go to the movies when the movies are open back up. But what people say what they want and what they actually want aren't always the same. So, we can only take that with a grain of salt as well. We really can only tell once the actions are there, if people are going to be flocking to movies or not. Because I could see it both ways. I could see restrictions lift. I think AMC theaters are open now and people just flocking to the movies like never before. But it's also not unrealistic to say that people are now just used to watching movies from their living room and they're comfortable with that and they want to stay doing that. My money's betting on the former, that people are going to start going back and just want to do things. But of course, it's far from a guarantee.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think what you're going to end up seeing is like a spike. You know what I mean? So you're going to get, when the country reopens and quarantine lifts, you're going to see people all want to go to the movies at the same time, right? And it's probably going to be like a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week hype where movie theaters are packed and they're going to generate a crap ton of revenue. And people are going to recognize that in the stock price, and it's going to influence and factor into the stock price, I think. Mm-hmm. Of course, this is just speculation, but I anticipate that it can, run it up to a pretty decent amount of money per share. But then after that, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, whatever it is, I think you're going to start to see those sales die back down. So for me, it's like a midterm recovery play. If neither scenario works out, where you get a squeeze or you get an Amazon acquisition, mm-hmm. and an Amazon acquisition would be incredible to see what they end up doing with that. But right. I definitely think that's very possible as well. We could talk about that too if you want.
Yeah, I think if I was AMC, I'd be asking myself, all right, how can we Elon Musk this? And what I would do is make the opening of theaters. I know theaters are already open all over the place, but I would make the opening of theaters the biggest event ever. Sell tickets for $200 a pop. Try and make it like this huge experience across the country.
$200, like, dang, yeah.
You know what I mean, though?
Oh yeah, definitely.
If they were like, they call it like the world is back celebration, something catchy to kind of just like rally people behind being able to go out and do stuff again, sell for a real high ticket price, get a bunch of hype around it. Maybe they team up with a few movie studios to have like some awesome movies launching on that day. That would be the way to really, blow up the stock and get them in the news in a positive light, get people excited about the movies. That's what I would do if I was management.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people could learn something from Elon Musk. They just need to make some memes. They need to throw some memes up on their Twitter.
Exactly.
Talk about Dogecoin. That would
definitely help too. Yeah, if they did imagine if they did like stock memes this whole time.
Oh, dude, I've been saying that. What is AMC doing this whole time? I posted. You seen that Michael Jackson meme, right, where he's just eating popcorn? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's been AMC this whole time, just watching this debacle play out, because they haven't said really anything. I haven't heard anything from AMC really about this,
GameStop is even worse. The CEO literally hasn't had a comment.
That's insane.
Can you imagine being the GameStop CEO and not having anything to say?
Dude, I've been saying that forever. Max. It's crazy. Could you imagine being the GameStop CEO and seeing your stock go from $10 to $500? That'd be so incredible.
Also, it's even worse for the CEO. He's kind of in the worst position of all, because he owned like 2.6 million shares or something like that. I might be off on that a little bit, but a significant portion of shares, and his worth in these shares went from like $60 million to over $700 million. But then as the CEO, you don't want to sell your shares because it's a bad look for the company. So He saw his net worth blow up, and he's just kind of has his hands tied because it's a bad look. You have to file that if he sells. So he probably didn't sell any.
I didn't hear about it. Well, I feel like he definitely would have heard something about it if he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still net up, I'd probably like 300% or something. So what did you say his net worth was? Like 30 million?
I don't know what his net worth is. It's definitely more than 30 million. I think he had like 60 million just in GameStop before.
Okay. So if he was in under $10, I mean, you're looking at pretty decent.
I made a spreadsheet on it. I can pull it up here.
Yeah, there we go. The number wizard.
I made a spreadsheet on the GameStop biggest winners.
Stock Jesus. Everybody,
Let's
if you're digging Max, check him out. Check out his channel. I've got a link up here in the comments bar. If you'd like to do that, he's a great YouTuber.
Yeah, I got videos breaking down Tyson Foods even more in depth if you're interested in that. Sundial growers, you know, small business kind of stuff, news every single day if you're interested. So we got a GameStop CEO. He holds 2.3 million shares. And total value of buy-in $20 million. And at its peak, it was worth $747 million.
Dang, that's crazy. Yeah. Man, can you imagine? Some of the people in the comments here are saying that they did see that he sold some GME stock.
Oh, maybe he did. I haven't looked in the last couple of weeks, so it's definitely possible. There was another dude, Donald A. Foss. He's this entrepreneur from Michigan, not even affiliated with GameStop. He founded some kind of low credit car financing company, took it public and sold it in like 2017. But he held 3.5 million shares. Total value at buy-in around $14 million, and at its peak, it was worth $350 million.
Man, can you imagine that, dude? That's so life changing. If you just, I actually have a buddy. I've got a buddy out here. His name is Sonny Tran. He's an officer with me for air defense artillery work and stuff. And he bought GameStop 2 years ago. Just randomly owned a couple hundred shares of GameStop, and he sold it at the peak. And the guy's a millionaire.
Really?
Insane.
Wow.
Absolutely insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it blows my mind, dude. I just can't believe that happened.
That is so awesome.
I'd have never known.
We talked to a lady on one of my streams last week who bought like $400,000 worth of AMC over the period, like 2 years ago, and saw it decline down to being worth only about like 97,000, and then saw it go up to $1.2 million. So she rode that whole wave. She said it was her entire retirement was in AMC. Everyone was telling her to sell, and she was just like, well, it's here. I'm just going to hold it. Rode the wave, saw it go up to 1.2 million. Pulled out. I think she pulled out like 600 grand. So she was net up. Just left the profits in there, and obviously she's down now, but it's still
right.
Pulled out profit and probably still made 200 grand or something like that.
Dang. Yeah, that's those are some crazy stories, dude. And I honestly don't think the AMC game's done. I mean, I put out a video on this every single day, as you already know, but it's gonna be an interesting battle. I think what interests me the most is that you're seeing these issues on getting shares filled, which to me shows you that there's a low float amount. There's a low amount of shares that are currently being traded in the market. And with that being the case, right, if enough people are holding the stock, the supply and demand, the laws of economics, supply and demand, if you cut off supply, that makes the demand extremely, extremely high. So if it gets to a point here where people are just basically holding all the available shares, are you still there, Max, or are you frozen? Oh, we lost him. We lost him again, guys. Toledo. All right, my friends. Jake Sanderson, I'm going to read you off real quick here, and then the Austin Pete. Thank you, my friends. I appreciate that. Been watching for a while now. Curiously, I haven't talked about Torchlight at all. I actually do have a position in Torchlight, my man. I'm going to be putting out a video on Torchlight here in the future, but I do have a video out on them. Just one. But I do have a position, and I will be talking about them in the future. They've got a lot of potential with metamaterials. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to text Max here real quick. All right, so Max's internet went out again. I know the view is going to be kind of goofy here, but once he comes back, we will keep rolling. But anyways, with Torchlight, I do have a position in Torchlight. I've got about $2,000 in Torchlight, and I see a lot of potential with that merger. So that could be a very, very solid play. All right, so Max is back on.
This Walmart Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Walmart Wi-Fi, man. God dang it.
Yeah, jeez.
Crazy.
Anyways. Sorry, my internet cut you off.
No, it's all good, man. I mean, usually it's my Wi-Fi that's just garbage. We using that hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah. You were talking about the prospects for AMC?
Yeah. I don't remember what I was saying, though. I'm going to be honest. Lost my train of thought.
I got distracted, too. As soon as I saw this grayed out, I was like, oh, gee, again.
I know it. Thank you, the awesome Pete, for that super chat. And then Pop Squash is saying we got to get Max onto the Sens boat. Ticker symbol SENS. Sensonics.
Yeah, I decided yesterday I need to do some research into that. I think what we need to do, we were talking about this a little bit off live, that we need to both do a bunch of diligence on a specific company and then maybe stream together something like that and debate it back and forth as to what our thoughts are. Kind of both come with the receipts.
Yeah, man, that'd be fun. We should do it for Sensonics. That'd be the first stock.
Yeah, we can do Sensonics.
Sweet.
I'll really dig into the fundamental end of it.
Yeah, right on. I'll dig into the other end of it.
The feel of it.
Oh, they reminded me. Here we go. Happy Dappy Man said you were talking about AMC low float. Now I remember. Man, if it wasn't for you guys,
Okay.
I always you guys rock. Thank you, fellow Gorilla Gang. Drop some gorillas in the chat for Max. Show him some love. He's a part of the gang now.
Like the stream for Trey.
Yeah, do that too. Like the stream. But anyways, the supply and demand. So the basic, laws of economics. When you cut off supply, that increases the demand exponentially, right? So an example that I have in the back of my mind is there's a company called Uami, right? And they're an antimony company, which is a rare earth metal that's used in batteries. And China. I always have to say that when I say China. They transport and ship a lot of rare earth metals to the United States. Well, there's talk about them cutting off, rare earth metals transport to the States. And if that happens, that's going to mean that there's only that one company, U.S. Antimony, that's going to be able to produce and ship antimony for U.S.-based companies, right? So cutting off that supply is going to increase the demand. You can think about the same thing here, at least in my opinion, with AMC. So AMC, if there's no available shares to be traded, right, at the end of the day, what that comes down to is if everybody's holding the shares and there's shorts out there that need to buy back shares that don't exist, right? There's none floating. Mm-hmm. You get to choose what they buy it back at, right? That's the beauty of the limit order, and it's crazy to think this, man. It's so crazy to think this, but that is why it's actually fundamentally possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible to see AMC, hypothetically hit just about any price, like $200, $300, $400, $500. And I'm not giving that as a price target, guys. Do not take that to the grave. Right. That's just like a hypothetical situation where if every single person, exactly, if every single person holding had their limit order set at $500, that's just what they'd have to buy it at if there's no float,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was talking to I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I was talking to the head of data analytics at S3, which they're like big data for finances and stuff like that. And he was saying if there were to be another short squeeze, it would be an AMC over GameStop.
Because the short interest numbers are just higher, right?
Yeah, short interest numbers. He was just saying it makes more sense for AMC. Of course, this is just one person's opinion as well. But
so go into what he said. I'd be very interested because S3, you can talk about what S3 is, but it's essentially a data analytics, source that gives out, different numbers regarding stocks, short interest, overall float, outstanding shares, etc.
Yeah, if you're at all confused about short interest, what it means, kind of the implications of it, I have like an hour-long conversation on that, and that guy was the expert on it. But basically, what he was saying is AMC is more well positioned to make these things happen, like you said, because of short interest. It's a little bit higher and more reliably higher, it seems, than GameStop. Because I think what we saw is people who were shorting GameStop, institutional shorters or whoever, are just scared to short GameStop now. A lot of them, because they're like, what if this thing happens again and we lose our shorts on another squeeze? Not so much for AMC. It's almost like AMC has the popularity because so many. I mean, I found out this right away when I started doing these streams a few weeks back. Everyone was holding AMC. It was like GameStop wasn't even a thing, and shorters are more willing to short that stock. So there's a little bit more of like a perfect storm there. Plus, now that we're at some low prices for AMC, most of the people that I've seen aren't even selling. They're just like, well, I'm just holding this thing now.
That's what I would say the same thing, man. I've been saying the exact same thing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What's really interesting too is like
supply and demand.
GameStop was like the big deal, and like that's been the whole goal from DFV, from Wall Street Bets, from all those different guys, is GameStop squeeze. It's interesting to me how AMC started, and it's actually made that transition, I would think, to where like more people actually talk about AMC than GameStop. Right. when I would cover GameStop, videos or live streams, I just found that not as many people were interested. which is like crazy because that's how this whole thing started, you know. But that's what it's looking like right now, and I see a lot of potential there for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to take that volume. A, like we need volume to pick back up, or B, there needs to be no available shares for trading. Otherwise, it's just going to keep trading sideways like it is right now.
Yeah, the best option is whoever holds it, just hold it. You know,
definitely. You know what? I've seen
everyone
people.
has individual power.
I was talking to a hedge fund analyst. His name's Justin. He's got his own YouTube channel. Pretty intelligent guy. Definitely knows his stuff. But his hypothesis as to why the stock price was just going like crashing down, right, is when it went up, when it got that gamma squeeze that happened up to $25, that first initial squeeze, people just took profits and got out immediately. And I just can't buy that because $25 down to $12 does not happen from people just taking profits. And there's so many different things out there that, like, to me, back up the fact that people are still holding the stock, right? Like in Robinhood, I think AMC is the most held stock across all stocks, including Tesla, Apple, you know, any of those growth stocks, right? We see that the total number of shares being held is extremely high compared to the overall outstanding shares, right? The float's pretty low. I'd be really surprised. I just don't see it as possible. What do you think, man? What do you think? I mean, I think some of it obviously was people getting out and taking profits, but
part of it, a concern of mine is, you know, when you say you've sold one of these stocks, I think you kind of get attacked online. So there are definitely people who sold who just aren't saying anything.
Oh, totally. And I completely agree with that. But in order to see that kind of crash, man, to see that crash,
like most people are holding.
Yeah, totally. I think you need to see literally everybody sell their position at the same time to see a crash from $25 down to like 12 or whatever it came down to that day. You know what I mean? It's absolutely insane. Right. All right.
It was also just fear behind it too. You know, that buying and selling pressure is really what makes it. It's a voting machine. So if there's this fear behind it dropping 50%, all these people think it's game over, then, you know, it drops and there's no one there to pick it back up. But hopefully we see I would rather see a slow rise, you know, instead of a one day 200% up, personally.
Definitely, man. Okay, so there's a couple more super chats here I'm just going to read off quick. Jason and Harry. So Jason says, let's talk about VSTO. Ticker symbol VSTO. I'm actually not familiar with what that company does.
I don't think I am either.
So, Vista. Let me just pull this up real quick on Webull. Just take a quick peek.
Vista Outdoors, is that what this is?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, Vista Outdoor. So it looks like what Vista does, if I just look at their profile quick, they are a designer, manufacturer, and marketer of consumer products in the outdoor sports and recreation markets. The company operates through two segments, shooting sports and outdoor products. The company serves the outdoor sports and recreation markets through a diverse portfolio of nearly 40 well-recognized brands that provide consumers products, including sporting, ammunition, golf rangefinders, hydration products, outdoor accessories, outdoor cooking solutions, and protective equipment for certain action sports. They sound kind of similar to like a Shields. I don't know. You know what Shields is if you're in Minnesota, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so this kind of seems like a Shields or a Dick's Sporting Goods, maybe a Cabela's to some extent.
One thing I find a little curious is it a store or are they like a manufacturer of sporting goods? It
says they're consumer cyclical consumer products, leisure products, and recreational products. So it says they're the designer and manufacturer and marketer of those consumer products. So I'm guessing they're like the company selling the products to like the Shields or the Dicks, if I had to guess.
Yeah. It says here ammunition, rimfire ammunition, shot shell ammunition, reloading components, firearms, you know, things like that. One thing I find kind of curious with ammunition just being sold out basically everywhere in the last year, their sales actually decreased in 2020.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it did.
So I would have to dig into why that happened. Looks like, do they have no net income? However, their net income is negative, but it's much better than the year before. So they might be kind of on the way up. Plus, they do have a ton of sales. 1.76 billion is nothing to shake a stick at.
In terms of the chart setup, it's a really nasty setup. I wish I could share this on my screen, but it took me forever to figure out how to get OBS to do what it's doing right now. So unfortunately, I won't be able to do that. But in the next stream, my friends, we're getting better every single day. But right now is a perfect time to buy in if you do believe in this company. If you want to swing this, Personally, I don't have a position in VSTO, but it's at a really solid buying opportunity. It's on an ascending level of support right now. The volume is really consistent, so you can predict where the action is going to come. It's on a little bit of a downtick right now, but if you want to buy this at, I would say like $34, that'd be a pretty solid entry point. $34.30. That looks pretty solid, man.
In the last year, they've had a nice kind of steady increase from $9 to 35 without any significant drop-offs.
Yeah, man. It's been some pretty clean movement. Pretty clean movement. It's great.
The only thing
That's
I'd be
honestly
curious
some crazy
about
growth.
is why are sales decreasing? Because if there's hype around it, you at least want to put some reason behind it that sales will eventually make up for
Right.
loss in income.
Well, that's what's kind of interesting about the market now, and the way that retail investors are starting to get some power is a lot of plays that blow up and make good money aren't really even some of them aren't even really justified, which is insane. Yeah. It's just like the power of the internet. It's like the retail guys have enough say and availability to resources to actually make things happen the way that the institutional investors do, which is really crazy.
Yeah, it seems like almost every investment you hear about or get questioned on is some form of a greater fool's investment. Basically you're just betting that someone else is going to pay higher at a later price. You're not really betting that you're going to cash flow from it, which it's a way to invest, but it's just closer to flipping a coin than value.
Right. So it sounds like they do Federal Ammo, Camelback, and Bushnell. They're from Anoka, Minnesota.
Oh, look at that.
That's pretty cool. Dang.
Surprised I haven't heard of them before.
Yeah, I can't believe that either. It seems like something you'd see in Minnesota. Like I just thought of Cabela's and Shields right away.
Right.
So thank you for those super chats, Jason, Sally. Appreciate that. Harry is saying, Trey, people on Reddit bashing you, saying you misrepresented the AMC figures in your vid yesterday. Might want to check it out. Well, how about that? All right. Every single time I put up an AMC video, I get bashed on Reddit. So this is nothing new to me. This is nothing new to me at all. I don't currently see an article here or a thread. Man, I just love seeing DFV. There's so many good memes of DFV, man. He's did you see his bandana and cat poster hanging up in the back when he was doing the hearing?
Oh yeah, just hanging there. That's hilarious.
That was so cool. So I think what people are talking about with this Reddit thread, people bashing me, is the 99.2% number coming from AMC figures. And let me just take a quick peek here at this. 99.2% AMC. All right, so we found it 44 minutes ago.
This is Haters Live.
Yeah, I guess it is. Honestly, my friends, I do want to preface, so I'm just going to read this. This 99.2% number that's sitting right here. This guy's saying, if you think that 99.2% of AMC stock is held, you're wrong. Look at Disney, it's at 99.9. Does that mean that only 0.1% of people are selling Disney? Probably not.
What is that figure called? The 99.2. Like, what's the label of it?
It's 99.2% ratio of the float shares to the outstanding shares.
So that's just the total number of shares that the public could buy.
From my understanding, yes. So, all right. So I do want to say this first and foremost, my friends. Everybody tuned in right now to the live stream. As people and content creators that put ourselves out there, we are human beings, right? There are times that I make mistakes, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not a perfect person, right? But the premise at the end of the day stays the same, regardless of that 99.2% number. And in my video, my friends, I did also say this could or could not be correct. So I do apologize if I feel like, if you feel like I misled any of you, right? I have good intentions with everything that I put out on my channel, but I'm a human being, man. I mean, it's the truth, and I don't even know what to say at this point. It is what it is. It is. what I want to point out, which is important, is this: at the end of the day, people are not getting their orders filled, which means that there is a low amount of float, right? Which means there's a low amount of availability in terms of who can purchase the stock. So whether it's 0.8% that's available for float, or 2%, or 5%, or 10%, which I said in my video, right? Let's just hypothesize that 10% of the float is currently available for the stock. And no matter where you look, you get different numbers, guys. We've seen this, and I also said that in my video, is that Fintel will give you a number, Ortex will give you a number, that website will give you a number. They're all different. So it's tough to choose which one's actually legitimate. Right? But at the end of the day, what you can see is there are people that are not getting their orders filled. I'd be interested to hear your take on this, Max. But people not getting their orders filled, to me, indicates that these clearinghouses just don't have the shares available, which to me indicates that there's a low float. I mean, that's my personal take and perspective on that.
So the only thing I wonder is if float is the right word. I don't want to, use the wrong.
No, totally, man. Totally, man.
For the definition, because my understanding, anyways, is float is just the total shares any investor could buy. That's not the company holding the shares. So, like, if there's a 90% float and there's 100 shares of the company, 90 of those shares could be bought by a retail investor.
The other 10% would be held by institutionals or insiders, right? Yeah.
So, what I'm wondering, is there a word for what's the percentage of the float that is freely floating around in the market? I'm not sure if there's a word for that. Is it available float? Is it purchasable float?
It's free float, from my understanding.
Free float.
So okay. I'm just going to Google it because I don't want to give out any more information that's going to make people mad or get me on Reddit. So free float, also known as public float, refers to the shares of a company that can be publicly traded and are not restricted, i.e. held by insiders. So free float would be the current available shares for trading, from my understanding.
Yeah, I think that...
Not including what's already being held by retail investors.
Okay, so it's not including what's already held.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so
I'll just read off a quick description. Free float, also known as public float, refers to the shares of a company that can be publicly traded and are not restricted, i.e. held by insiders. In other words, the term is used to describe the number of shares that is available to the public for trading in the secondary market.
Okay, so that sounds like that's the same definition of just float, though, doesn't it?
It sounds pretty similar, yeah. So it's saying you take the free float equals outstanding shares minus restricted shares minus closely held shares. And that'll give you what the free float currently is. So that would tell you what's available to retail investors, but it doesn't tell you how much retail investors are actually holding, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the issue is a portion of the float is always held by someone. Even if you hit sell, you still own that until it's actually transferred to someone else. So I'm just not sure if there's if there's even a statistic for those shares that are just floating around in the clearinghouses.
Right. There probably is a word for it, honestly. I thought it was a percentage of free float. That's always been my take. That's how I've described it. But essentially what I'm trying to get at is once you take out the institutional shares and the insider shares, right? And all that you have left is the remaining float. Let's say that it's 99.2%, right? And retail investors, it doesn't quite exactly tell us how much retail investors are holding, but we know that the number is high because clearinghouses aren't able to give shares out to people that are trying to buy them, right? So buy orders are getting rejected. They're getting basically not filled. And you can see this too because they've got these reports that are coming out every single day where you've got thousands and sometimes millions of shares that are being failed to deliver. And that to me indicates that these clearinghouses just don't have the available shares to get people their orders filled, which means either A, people are holding shares and a crap ton of them, or B, there's something going wrong at the clearinghouses, you know? So
there's something going wrong, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that is. I'm not a clearinghouse expert, but it might be worth digging into to see how exactly these things happen. Why do purchase orders get denied, especially if the company has no liquidity problems? Like, is this an issue across the board, or is it with just certain brokerages? Right,
man. You know what? We should just have another stream one of these days where we just dig into this kind of stuff. I was about to say, yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I think people are really digging you, man. They like your calm demeanor. They're saying it's like watching a guy on coke and watching a guy chilling out. It's good stuff.
It's the classic dynamic, isn't it?
Dude, it's such gold. It's such gold. Honestly, man, when we had that live stream over at your channel, I was just straight vibing. I was vibing. I looked at the YouTube live stream and I saw it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I was like, what? How'd that time already go by?
Yeah,
that's incredible.
It blew past.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was comparing that to the day before. We did like a 9-hour stream, and I was like, dang, it feels like nothing compared to the day before. Yeah, it was so easy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So one last thing that I want to say about this AMC stuff, guys. Then we can wrap this up because I don't want to linger on that. There's always going to be, in my opinion, negative opinions, right? When you put yourself out there, and I'm sure Max can speak on this, and pretty much no matter what you do, you're going to put yourself out there, and people are going to basically talk shit about you. And that's just how it is. That's what happens. And I'm okay with that. People form their own opinions, my friends. You guys are free to form your own opinions as well. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm having a conversation with a friend of mine, and you guys can make of that what you want. You know, you can think it's total BS, or you can think it's something worth listening to, you know, and that's totally up to you guys to decide. So if you feel like I misguided you in any sort of way, I do apologize. I do try my best just to present you with the information that is available to anybody. And that's what I'm going to leave off with that. So much love, my friends. We are going to move on to something else here today and just keep the vibe rolling. Sorry for that,
Yeah,
there, Max.
No problem. I think people realize that you're trying to do genuine good. You know,
Oh,
you're obviously
definitely
a genuine guy, not trying to mislead or anything like that.
Yeah, it's I mean, you know, my favorite thing that I read is how can this guy talk about anything? He only is holding 600 shares, but you know, at one point I had like 3,000, so I don't know. I don't know what they want from me. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. So Sally's got a question about CoADK. Is it shorted? Opinions. So I'm gonna check out what was it?
CoADK.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out CoADK and Ortex. If you wouldn't mind just checking out the company for me real quick, Max.
Yeah, sure.
So I pay for a service called Ortex, and it's about $500 a year that gives me, you know, really relevant information regarding short interest, institutional buying, upcoming events and catalysts, insider buying, peers that may be in the stock, momentum, whole bunch of good stuff. And what we can see right now in terms of utilization and short interest is that it is very, very high. It's at 89.22%. And utilization, I saw somebody ask this in the chat earlier today. Utilization is not the same as float. Utilization refers to how many shares can be shorted that are available, right? So if you have an 89% utilization, that means out of, let's say you've got 100 shares. That would mean that 89.22 of those 100 shares that are available for shorting are being used. So only 11% of current lendable short shares are available, which means this is being very, very heavily shorted. Cost to borrow is 6.83% annually, which is pretty decently high. It's down a little bit from about 7 days ago, which means there's probably a little bit less risk in terms of shorting. So I would imagine that some have covered, but not an immense amount. Pretty decent percent free float on loan. It's about 22.82%. But it looks like it's pretty heavily shorted for sure. I would the days to cover really catches my eye. It's sitting at 1.38. And the higher that the days to cover is, the more chance you have at a possible squeeze. So basically what days to cover is, if you're not really familiar, is the short interest basically divided by the 3-month average volume. And the higher that days to cover, the harder it is for shorts to cover, which means that you got really solid squeeze potential. So in terms of the numbers, it looks like it's really got potential for something pretty nasty, I would say, in the short term at least. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I think squeezability, I mean, definitely, if it's that high, it's just completely a matter of hype around it. This could be the beginning of that hype train, because I haven't heard anyone talking about this in terms of squeezability until right now.
I haven't either, honestly. So, that's the first time I think I've even heard that ticker.
It's Kodak just camera, isn't it? Isn't that the company?
Let me pull it up on Webull here quick. I didn't even look at it yet. I would take a guess, because I feel like Kodak is kind of a dying company, isn't it?
Yeah, 5-year sales trend is not looking good.
Oh, that is an ugly chart. Oh, no.
Yeah, earnings per share, not good at all. I'm not sure if they have any turnaround plans or, you know, what they plan on doing, but
right. I think it's got some solid, really short-term potential, though. The issue for me is, if you want to see this do something, it needs volume, and I don't see much pumping into this right now. It's got the squeeze potential. But to me, this is like the same situation almost as AMC, except AMC is consolidated and KODK is not. KODK is still bleeding. So like there's a little more risk involved for me getting into this for a squeeze until you see volume start to pick up, which is just unpredictable, you know?
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to point out about the days to cover ratio, I think that if we ever come down to having another squeeze, we should have some kind of calculation that's a better days to cover, because
there's so much confusion about it, man.
Yeah, I have an issue with it being the 3-month average volume, because you look at a company like AMC or GameStop, their volume was 20x per day,
right.
normal normal daily volume.
So it's not even relevant information at that point.
Yeah, the days to cover doesn't even make sense because I think at one point the days to cover ratio was like 4 or 5 for AMC. But if you did the math on the daily volume, because it was so hyped for those days, it was like less than half a day.
Right.
So the information just, was
useless,
null and void.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I've never even thought of that, man. That's a huge point. And honestly, I've seen a lot of like, I don't want to say misinformation because stuff happens, right? Sometimes things just get lost in translation. It sounds different than it actually is. I've seen people say that days to cover, the lower the days to cover, it just means the sooner that shorts have to cover their positions. But one thing that I want to clarify is there's a difference between shorts covering positions and like puts, right? So like puts expire, options expire. Short positions, you can basically hold indefinitely as long as you don't get a margin call. So the days to cover doesn't necessarily mean they have to cover their position in those amount of days. It's just referring to if they wanted to essentially break even or be profitable. That's about how much time you'd be looking at to make those happen. Of course, that doesn't mean they need to cover that time period. That's just like an estimate based on those different numbers. So that's something that I always try to point out whenever we're talking about days to cover because I think that's something that gets kind of lost in translation a little bit. It's very easy to think otherwise just based on how it's kind of sounds and definitely huge for sure.
Yeah, days to cover isn't really related to covering a short, even though both use that word. They're completely different, phrases. But yeah, we saw that with, Melvin Capital coming up into the weeks of GameStop blowing up in price. There were so many people who were like, come Thursday, the shorts have to cover, come Friday. But I mean, if they get an outside investment, they're not going to get margin called. They're going to just keep on holding. And, that's what we saw happen.
They're going to borrow more money from other hedge funds. How it is. You know how it is.
So we found out they got friends. Yep.
Oh, yeah. You know what I find interesting? I want to hear your opinion on this, man, is the SEC's stake in all this. So you had to have seen the articles about SEC investigating like Simplord69 on Reddit or whatever floating around.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, dude, this is the funniest Reddit thread I think I've ever read. So it was talking about the SEC investigating Reddit users instead of the hedge funds. And I'm just like, when I read that, I legitimately was like pissed off. That doesn't make sense. Like, there's obvious manipulation, I would say happening on both sides, right? At this point, like we can recognize that the power of Reddit, the power of the internet, the power of, stock twits, whatever, like retail investors have a lot more power in the market than they did before. But at the same time, these institutional investors, the hedge funds, the hogs or whatever, they've been doing this since the existence of the market, and for them to just like overlook that and just attack the Reddit users or the Discord guys. And like the fact that even DFV is at court right now, I'm like, what? What's going on? I want to hear your take on that, man. Let's hear it.
I mean, I'm not an expert in the SEC, but just from what I've heard, both from CEOs' point of view who have to deal with the SEC, no one seems to have a ton of respect for them, and that's probably for a good reason. So that's kind of all I have to say. Usually you get respect if you deserve the respect.
That's what it feels like to me, man. For sure, it feels like lawyers protecting lawyers, if that makes sense. Suits watching suits. It's like, God dang, I just don't understand it. And this ties back in AMC, which I know we said we were done talking about. I apologize if this is not what you want to talk about here today, but. That's why I don't think AMC's dead. I mean, I don't think you would see all these class action lawsuits. I don't think you'd see the media bashing it all the time. I don't think you'd see these institutionals going long on them because we've seen like a bunch of companies go long on AMC in the last week or so. I think like the 12th and 13th. We were talking about this on your channel, Max. There was like 5 companies that went in long on AMC, and they were pretty big name companies if I remember right.
Right. I got to restart my camera here real quick.
Yeah, you do it, man. You do it, man. Max is just going to restart his camera here real quick. I should probably get myself a quick drink, so I'll be right back. I will be right back. That should just take me 1 sec. Max, I'm just going to get a drink quick.
Sorry about this wonky camera setup.
No, you're good. I'm just going to get a drink quick. I'm going to grab my Coke.
All right. I'll respond to the chat. If you have any questions that I can help address, let's hear them in the chat, and I'll co-host while Trey is gone. Yeah, make sure everyone likes the stream. Subscribe to Trey if you haven't already.
Everybody always yells at me when I don't drink water, but water doesn't taste like anything, man. I can't do it.
I got water, but also coffee.
It's a fine balance. Yeah, people are already saying in the comments, it never gets old. Never gets old. Drink that water.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of that, man. Sweet. All right. Hey, thank you, Uvire. Thank you, Grevy, for the super chat as well. Vicky Patterson is asking about GSA Capital Partners $270,000 investment in AMC. If that's the case, that's huge. All these institutions buying in, that's just $270,000. And it's not a huge stake in comparison to some other companies. Who was I think it was Schwab. Schwab dropped a couple million in AMC, or at least that's what they reported when they filed. But if you did the math in terms of how much money was put into the company for how many shares, it looks like they purchased it at like $3. So that makes me wonder if they just filed it on the 15th or something, or if they were able to buy it at a discount. Because I know that sometimes that's the case.
I wondered that about BlackRock too, because I think last week there was an announcement that they almost doubled their position, but we don't know if it happened that day or if it happened
right, because that's just the filing date. That's basically when they're just releasing the fact that they purchased into the company.
Right.
Nonetheless, it's substantial because because FinTel tells you when companies sell too. So when a company sells out of their position, it'll say 0 shares, $0, yada 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 down the line to 0. So they have to at least still be holding, from my understanding. So I'd just be interested to know when they bought in.
Yeah, my guess is they probably just have a schedule of buy-in. I mean, you look at pretty much any company, BlackRock owns shares and owns way more shares than I own.
I don't know, man. You got 300 shares of AMC. It'd be tough for BlackRock to top that.
Yeah,
that'd be tough.
I don't even know how many trillions of dollars they have under management. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, dude. Pretty insane. Oh, there was something that just sparked in my mind, but I forgot. Oh, I want to talk about your pole vaulting stuff. So I know that's not stock related, sure. But I was on his stream here yesterday, and me and Max both found out that we were on the track team 1 year after each other. So I was a long distance guy. I used to run cross country and track in college, in high school, and then I had my heart issues, as you guys already know, which stopped me from running. But I went to St. Cloud State for 1 year before I transferred over to St. John's. And Max went there the year before I got there, dude, which is so crazy. It blows my mind. That's the craziest thing ever.
Same coaches, the same teammates. We've never met before.
No.
It's insane.
You know, Sam Sundstrom, she was a girl that qualified for the Olympic trials in the marathon. Absolute beast. Very, very cool person, but that's nuts.
Yeah, you got to ask if you're in contact with any of them still. You got to ask them if they have any stories about Dan and Max, because we were both just complete goofballs while we were there.
Dan, what was his last name?
Dan Weber.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm gonna do that for sure. Did you have long hair back then, or is this a new thing?
No, it was totally short.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, I bet all your old buddies from St. Cloud, they're pretty proud of you now, man, huh?
Same goes for you.
I guess so.
About that track team.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is.
YouTubers.
Everybody that's there. It's in the water. Yeah. It's in the water.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I shouldn't even say it's in the water. I never drank water back then. It was just beer, but oh, it's gold.
But yeah, I pole vaulted for them for a year. Obviously in high school too. I pole vaulted for like 8 or 9 years.
That's huge, man. You know, we were talking about this on your stream, but I do want to double down on it so that, both our listeners can hear this. But you were saying how people who have a background in fitness and in sports and in training every day typically do pretty well for themselves in life after they move on to the next thing. And I think it's pretty huge. And I'll tell you my 2 cents, and I'd be interested to hear what you think. But I think it's just like learning to take that ability to show up every day and apply it to something else, because like if you're consistent with something, odds are that you're going to succeed at it, right? Because you're only going to be able to fail so many times until you succeed, until you break through that wall. And that I think that's definitely not an accident for your situation where you had pole vaulting background, where you were an athlete. I mean, you just texted me last night at 11 at night that you were working out. I don't know very many people that work for the entire day and they work out at 11 at night. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, you got to get it in. It might not seem like I have high energy, but it just doesn't stop. Yeah, yesterday it was like 5 a.m. till about 10 p.m. working, did the workout, and then from about 11 to 1 a.m. finished up the day. But it's just got to do it. I think, like I said yesterday, there's definitely a correlation between ability in sports at a young age and success at an older age. Just like you said, I think it teaches you that you have to. I mean, with sports, no one can give it to you. You have to work to make those things happen. Even if you have rich parents who are, willing to pay for better training or whatever, you still have to show up and do the thing. And that obviously, translates to real life, if you will. It's just all about, time under pressure. If you work hard at something long enough, I don't know anyone who works extremely hard who isn't at least moderately successful. It's hard to fail if you're working really hard.
Definitely, man. Rock on. Rock on. All right. There's a couple questions in here from some of the people watching, so we'll just cover some of those. Wall Street Assassin first off said, F him, not you, the guy on Reddit. 122K subs and the Gorilla Gang. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. The Gray Area says, any advice as far as due diligence? Aside from learning charts, looking for news, feel like with some stocks, news doesn't move the price at all. Thanks. That is a great question for you, man. That is your cup of tea. That's why I wanted to have you on. Any advice?
Could you repeat that?
So he's saying, any advice as far as due diligence? Aside from learning charts and looking for news, feel like with some stocks, the news doesn't move the price at all. Thank you.
There's a weird thing going on in the markets right now where news doesn't always even correlate. I can't remember the company that we saw the other day that had some positive news of a contract. And I want to say it was even a company that didn't even have a contract before. Price went down 10%. It's like, this is the first real good news for this company, and the price went down 10%. So sometimes it's illogical, but usually with news, there's an overreaction in both ways. There's positive news that should increase the price 5%, it increases the price 20%. There's negative news that should decrease the price 2%, it decreases it 20%. That's usually the case, but not always. So it's anyone's guess in the short term. As far as my due diligence goes, the news aspect is actually pretty small. I'll look at the investor relations, I'll look at the press releases, just kind of get a feel for it. But I spend much more time in the financials, reading through earnings calls. That's something that just people don't really even talk about, is the earnings calls. And that gives you the best idea of what's going on, because you just have analysts asking the CEO, the CFO, what's going on? Why'd your sales go down? What are your plans for the next quarter? How's this building going? Things like that.
Man, do you do any videos like where you listen to these earnings calls, like walk people through how you do that? That'd be pretty interesting, I think, for people if you did that someday.
I did a sundial growers breakdown, and I walked through the transcript of their most recent earnings calls, and I just highlighted all the parts that I thought were important. So I've done it once online anyways.
Sure. Yeah, man, that's a great way to, break down a true long-term stock, like something that you want to hold for, I would say 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever that number is for you. The news, I could see not really mattering as much, because unless it's groundbreaking, right? Something that absolutely changes the fundamental premise of the company. The news is kind of just noise sometimes. Like if you
sometimes, yeah.
Exactly, man. I mean, if you're hearing something from like a hit piece, right, saying, oh, this company's going to burn, that this happened with their management, or they broke this SEC violation or whatever, that can kind of sway your opinion on things. So for my long-term investments, I look at news, like, I wouldn't say sparingly, but try to look at as many things as you possibly can,
Mm-hmm. Yes, with my long-term investments, there might as well not even be a stock price, because I don't even care what it is short term, to be honest.
Right. In terms of what I do for due diligence, I think me and Max have pretty different trading strategies. So, I personally have probably about 40 or 50% of my portfolio as long-term investments, things that I'm not going to touch for years down the road. And then the other 40 or 50%, 50, 60, I should say, I swing trade. So I'll hold on to positions for anywhere between 2 days to a week to sometimes a month, and then I'll keep flipping that money. And in that situation, it's a lot less important what the financial situation is, and much, much more important what upcoming news catalyst and reasoning you can have to find why a stock would build momentum and hype, right? Because at the end of the day, in the short term, sometimes stock price doesn't actually reflect the value of a company. It just it reflects the value of the stock itself, right? Like what people think of the company. So capitalizing on that, if you're a swing trader, I think it's much more important to pay attention to upcoming news catalysts, conference, webinars, because that actually does influence the stock price on a day-to-day basis. So it just depends on your perspective. Like if you want to look at something, oh yeah, totally, man.
Benjamin Graham, who is the mentor of Warren Buffett, he says in the short run, the stock market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. So
I've never heard that. I like that. That's good. Yeah, that's a much easier way of saying exactly what I've been trying to say, and much less words and much smarter.
Yeah, I mean, in the short run, I don't even know if financials, they might matter 2%. to be honest.
Right, totally. It's all just trader sentiment. I mean, it's what people think on that given day. In the short term, I think people trade and invest with emotions, the majority of people. And then the long term, the people that aren't touching stocks, obviously they're just investing with, numbers. So it's just different. It totally depends.
Right.
Hope that answered your question, gray area. I know that was very in depth, but if you're part of this channel, you already know I like to ramble. I like to talk, and we're going to tie Max into that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, let's get some more like philosophical kind of question, theoretical, philosophical kind of questions. Those are the funnest to answer.
Yeah, I mean, you heard him. You heard the man. Drop some philosophical questions for Jesus. Jesus knows
or sentiment,
the answer. Yeah, right.
It's just hard to say, like a price target for X, Y, and Z next week. But you can give an overall sentiment a little bit more easily, context behind, thought processes and things like that.
So here would be an interesting one. This isn't asking for a price target, but it's asking about the stock SOS. They're a blockchain stock. So it's reflecting basically the price of cryptocurrency. Crypto does well, those blockchain companies do well. Like I think Maher and Riot have been on an absolute riot lately, the last couple of days, just absolutely crushing, which is insane.
I don't know anything about the company SOS.
I can read you off a little quick description here from Webull. So they're called SOS Limited. The only thing that I am sometimes a little bit skeptical of is that they're based out of China. But the SOS Ltd, formerly China Rapid Finance Ltd, is a holding company mainly engaged in consumer credit business and emergency rescue services business. The company also operates insurance agency business through its subsidiary. The company, through its subsidiaries, is engaged in providing a consumer lending marketplace for lenders and borrowers in China with predictive selection technology, automated decisioning technology, and non-credit data analytic and risk-based pricing capabilities. They're also working on getting blockchain out, so working with cryptocurrency. So they've got a couple different aspects here. They've got financials. They're in the financial industry. They're in the banking and investment services. They're a banking service, and they're a consumer lender. So all of that tied into this new venture they're trying to take, which is that blockchain. I think most people are obviously excited about the blockchain, but what's kind of interesting about the rest of that is they kind of have a background that could have already produced some pretty decent financials for them. But I'd definitely be interested to hear your perspective on the financial situation, because I think that's what would differentiate SOS to like Mara or Riot, because I don't really think Mara or Riot are profitable yet,
Yeah, and that's one thing that I can't remember. I wish I knew the ticker offhand, but there was a company that is like a steel producer that has a research lab digging into blockchain technology. And when I was looking at it the other day, it looked very attractive. Maybe someone in the chat knows what I'm talking about. But basically what they had was a profitable company, very profitable, increasing sales, and just a research lab that they help fund. And I just feel like that's a real safe way to get into crypto. And this might be something similar.
I think I know what you're talking about. Was it Zkin? ZK International Group? This company works with pipes and fittings. So. Dude, I've been talking about this on my channel. That's hype.
Yeah, I think so.
I love it.
Yeah, they have very healthy financials, just from the cursory overview that I did the other day.
Sweet. That's good. I've got a stake in them. I've got a stake in Zkin. I'm glad you're saying that.
Oh, well, there you go.
Beautiful. Yeah, but
and they don't seem overvalued extremely either. Market cap only 172 million.
For SOS or Zkin?
For ZK.
Oh, okay, yeah. So what do you think of SOS's financial situation? Because I think I've seen some people talk about it on Reddit, saying that their financial situation is looking quite a bit better than Mara and Riot. And Mara and Riot trade way, way, way higher. So either A, Mara and Riot are extremely overvalued, or B, SOS is undervalued. And it could probably be a little bit of both, but it's tough to say.
Yeah. I think Riot is definitely overvalued as of right now, in my opinion. Is this SOS Ltd
Correct.
ADR?
Right.
Cool.
That's the Chinese-based company.
Okay, so we got $367 million market cap. Let me see here. Short interest of 529,000. I'm not sure how many. Oh, that's like nothing compared to their shares outstanding. Let's see. One thing I also kind of like to look at, which is only available sometimes, is the revenue per employee. That's not something that you hear talked about very often.
I don't think I've ever heard that talked about.
Yeah, sometimes you'll pull up a company and they'll have like $20,000 in revenue per employee, and to me that's just very concerning, because you assume full-time employees at the very least they're getting $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. So it's like even your employees you're not paying for, but then some really good companies you'll see $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 per employee. But obviously that changes based on industry pretty dramatically.
Right.
Let's see here with their financials. So their 5-year sales trend is kind of all over the place. We had half the sales in 2019 compared to 2017, a jump up, they're just a little sporadic, which always is slightly concerning for whatever reason. Looks like the third quarter 2019, almost no sales, which
in which quarter
is kind of concerned. I think it was third quarter 2019, a huge drop in sales, which would, if this is a bank, I would be really interested to see why a bank all of a sudden sees a steep drop off in sales. Because
right.
You would think they'd be fairly consistent with sales.
I haven't seen any news on it, but I would take a stab at speculating. Maybe they closed down some locations so they could allocate management in different places to focus on that blockchain. I guess I'm not entirely sure. It's a possibility, but that's who knows? I'd be interested to see how it compares to Mara and Riot, though. How do you think? Like, we just pick one. Like, we could just pick Mara and see how their financial situation looks. Because that was an argument that people made, is that SOS is in a much better financial situation than Mara, which is trading much higher.
What's the ticker for Mara?
MARA.
Oh, Marathon. Okay, cool. A much bigger market cap. So even if the financials aren't as good for SOS, it has much more wiggle room on poor financials because it's, market cap is like 8% of Mara. So financial wise, sorry if this isn't the most interesting thing on a stream.
No, it's good. People have been asking about it for sure. Because it's tough to pick between all the blockchain companies. Like, I feel like every single day that I do streams, I find out about a new blockchain company out there. And like, to be completely frank, right? There's going to be one that's the monster, and you want to be a part of the one that's the monster. That way you can get the gains, get the absolute best possible long-term position. So like, being able to differentiate that comes down to the core value of the company, the financial situation. Like, that's why I'm so excited about having you on.
Right. So sales for Mara are next to nothing, which is obviously very concerning when you have a market cap of something like $4 billion. Like, you would expect hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in sales. We're looking at 2019 sales, 1.19 million. Like I was talking about, in 2019, my moving company made more than 1.19 million.
That's incredible, dude. Dang.
We're looking at quarterly sales. Even the most recent quarter, $835,000. I hesitate to give a too firm opinion on this without really digging into why this is
right.
So, it just seems like extremely overvalued, like almost the most overvalued company I've taken a look at in the recent past.
What about that Tesla PDE though?
What was that?
So what about that Tesla PDE though?
Oh yeah. Well, they at least have earnings. So,
right.
Yeah, this is an infinite PDE. Yeah, I guess if we're talking about which one's more overvalued, I guess Mara is overvalued. In my mind, the market cap for Mara should, be something like under $20 million, which is probably laughable to anyone who's holding this.
It's pretty crazy, honestly. It's a movement, like Bitcoin hitting 52. I actually think it's trading at like 53,000 or something now. Let me check my position real quick. I don't remember exactly what it hit.
Unless it went down, I think it's above that.
Bitcoin is currently trading at $56,925. Man, that is insane, dude. I literally put a quarter of a Bitcoin in when I got it for like $11,800, and I'm already up $3,000 in like 2 weeks. Like, that just doesn't make sense. That should not happen.
Hey,
how is Bitcoin
wild.
Growing so fast, And because of that, like, these blockchain companies are just going insane.
Well, congratulations. Do you think there's going to be, are you going to pull it out, wait for some kind of correction, buy back in, or are you just going to hold it?
I'm a swing trader at heart, man. I try to capitalize on the swings, and that's probably my plan for sure, because we've seen that Bitcoin's done that, right? We've seen Bitcoin go from, I think, what was it, like 28,000 all the way back down to like 15 or something. Like the swings can be pretty heavy, and like I'd rather
Yeah.
keep the gains. And like if I miss out on extra gains,
Right.
then so be it. I can always reinvest it somewhere else.
Yeah, I think now might be the time to pull some profits on Bitcoin. I mean, if we look at let me just pull up Google Trends for Bitcoin.
Yeah, do it, man.
Price seems to pretty much go in line with the trends on this.
With the blockchain companies, is that what you're saying?
With Bitcoin's price.
Right. Yeah, you'd be totally right,
Yeah,
man.
so let's see. So we saw kind of the highest peak in interest over the last year was January 3rd through the 9th, and then just a little bit lower interest level we saw February 7th through 13th, which was last week, and the interest now the 14th through the 20th is about 20% less. So the interest in the short run, at least, is going down. So in my opinion, just based on that, we're probably going to see some kind of price correction again. I mean, it's anyone's guess where it goes back down to, but
Right. I would.
It's not going to just keep on going up forever.
Did you see that Bitcoin hit $1 trillion in market cap for the first time?
Dude, it's insane.
That is so
Absolutely
mind-boggling. That's insane. What crazy numbers. Yeah, man.
Yeah. The thing about it with that I feel about Bitcoin, because I have a little bit of Bitcoin, is no matter what, if you hold it extremely long term, you'll be fine.
Right.
But if you're trying to swing it, then things are a little bit different.
I think down the road, I will definitely like long-term hold it. But when I took my position in Bitcoin, it was trading at, I think, just under $50,000, and I feel like I can get that at a better price. You know what I mean? So I'd be comfortable taking profits on it and watching it pull back a little bit. Because all stocks go up, all stocks go down, except Tesla. Tesla just trades sideways whenever it corrects, but everything corrects, and I just feel like that's my game plan. Maybe I'll mistime it. I mean, I've been wrong before, but I feel like that's probably the smarter way to play it personally. Because me being up $3,000 right now, if I just get greedy and I let it sit there, and then it pulls back down below 50,000, maybe back to like 45. Well, then I just lost those unrealized gains. I don't know. There's just different ways of doing things.
Yeah, and everyone has a different sentiment on it. When it was at like $28,000 in December, I was sitting there. I was debating on buying an entire Bitcoin. I mentioned it to my girlfriend. I was like, should I just go ahead and do it? And then I was like, it's probably going to correct back down to 18,000. I'll just wait until then. And then it didn't. So
yeah, so maybe we're both wrong. Who knows? Just some random dudes.
Yeah,
that's gold.
Anyways.
Grevy, thank you for that super chat, my friend. I appreciate that. Palm Sun says, Trey Dog, you're a real one, fam. Can you guys check out T2 Biosystems real quick? Not a dead cat. My friend, I'm actually going to be putting out a video on TTOO either today or tomorrow. So just to respect Max's time, I do want to get some questions that he'll be able to answer with some good conviction here. Just because of,
Bring it on.
Yeah, right. But I will put a video out on that, man. Though I'm not going to forget about you. I will respect your super chat 100%, brother. All right, so this is a good question coming from Happy Dappy Man. He says, Trey, you said you've got long-term positions and also do swing trades. Could you talk briefly to your experience with risk-reward of one over the other? Oh, man, that's a great question right there. That's beautiful. So, swing trading, and I'd be interested to hear what you think about this. Do you do any swing trading, Max? Or are you just long-term investments?
Very little. I mean, we're talking 5 or less % of my portfolio.
Right. Totally. So swing trading essentially is just trying to capitalize on momentum. And that's what I think technical analysis really comes into play, is being able to find a technical setup on a chart where you think this is the bottom just based on previous trends. Of course, it's an art, not an exact science. I'd say 7 or 8 times out of 10, technical analysis works great. But sometimes you're going to be wrong, and that's where the risk comes into play, right? So, a chart, if it lived in a vacuum, would be right probably 8 or 9 times out of 10 it'll follow a trend. But unfortunately, we don't live in a vacuum, right? The risk comes from outside factors, such as news catalysts, the CEO having an affair, maybe their earnings didn't go to plan. They had a prototype that just ended up blowing up. Think about the Cybertruck from Tesla. I think Tesla absolutely tanked after that very, very momentarily. And if you were swing trading that, you would have lost. You would have been betting against the fact, you would have been betting on the fact that it goes well and it didn't, right? So that's the risk to reward with swing trading, is the reward is really high, right? So you can make a crap ton of money in a couple of days or a week or something because you're capitalizing on a lot of momentum, a lot of volatility, a lot of volume. But in the flip side, the downside, the con is you can lose a lot of money if you're not careful. So if you do want to swing trade stocks, I think the thing that I would say first and foremost, if you're new to it, is don't start with a lot of money. When I learned to swing trade and day trade a little bit, I do more swing trading than day trading just because I work full time. But I started off with $1,000. And out of my first 10 trades, I lost on 7 of them. I went down to $500 just like that. And I was like, why am I even trying this? This is so stupid. But if I started off with more than that and I'd blown like a $10,000 account, I doubt I've ever came back. I would have just been like, this is dumb. This is so stupid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So start with a little bit of money and then learn how to capitalize on a trailing stop loss. Some people say it's a stupid tool, but it is honestly the best thing ever. Like, taking your ego out of the way, right? And just like realizing, hey, I guessed the bottom wrong. It's okay that I'm taking this for a small loss. I'll reestablish at the actual bottom so I can ride it back up and make those gains back and then some. So setting like a 5%, 10% trailing stop loss on a stock for a swing trade. That way, if you misjudge the bottom and you can get a better position, right? It's way better to take that 5% loss than to be a bag holding down 30, 40, 50% because you mistimed that swing. So that'd be my 2 biggest tips in terms of swing trading. I think that Max will probably be able to talk to you a little more about long-term positions. I don't want to hog the whole show here, man.
Oh, no, you go right ahead. But yeah, as far as swing trading, I personally, I know a lot of it is by feel and the technical analysis. I'm just not personally as confident in that. I can make a surmise as to what I might think will happen, but if that's anything more than 50% of the time I'm right, I'm happy with that.
Right. Yeah.
I currently have a position in Tilray. I thought I bought it at the bottom. It dipped 42% or something like that. I bought it, went down another 25%.
It's so gnarly. That's swing trading to a T, man. It's volatile. I mean, you can if you miss time, you can be stuck bag holding like that in like minutes, literally minutes. That happened to me with EHang. I mistimed the bottom on that, and talking about exactly what I'm saying right now. Trailing stop losses prevent that kind of thing, because like if you mistime the bottom, you take that 5% loss and you just buy back in at the true bottom when you see a price rejection, which is awesome.
So what you do is, let's say you buy at $20 after some kind of dip or something like that. You'll just set a sell order for $18 just in case it.
Yeah. So your brokerage account has something called. It's pretty much the same thing, right? So it's just a trailing stop loss. So like you can set it to 5%, 10%, 15%, whatever percentage you want, or to an exact dollar amount. And typically what I'll do is look at like previous levels of support or resistance that show up on like a 1-month chart, a 5-day chart, and I'll find like the level of support if it's right here. Let's say this is $20, right? I'll set it for like $19.50. Because sometimes you're going to have wicks of candles that barely go underneath those levels of support and come back up, right? Where it'll just barely break and then come back up. And it'll sell you out if you have it $20, right? So I like to just hang a little bit below that level of support just by the off chance that does end up, coming down for just a second. But that's my strategy with that.
Okay. So do you use that the Fibonacci chart basically to figure out, all right, if it dips below this, it's probably going to go down an additional 10% or whatever?
In some ways, yeah. So the Fibonacci retracement, what that does is it tells you the strength of a chart setup, and it can help you predict where stocks might pull back to, in comparison to where they have pulled back in the past. So like if a stock, you see a trend where 3 times that it has a run, it pulls back 50%. It's pretty safe to assume they're going to see that same retracement a 4th time. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but just based on previous trends, the last 3 times the retrace there, so you can anticipate it'll probably move somewhere similar in the future, just based on the buying presence and selling presence on the stock. So that's a good way to predict where things go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to start. Maybe I'll do some paper trading or something like that, trying to do some technical and just see how I do.
Dude, I think you'd be surprised. It's a very learnable skill. Someone in here, you want to hear this. You got to hear this. Dapper Dan says, what kind of conditioner does Max use? This is the question everyone needs answered. Everybody needs this answered. We got to spend like a half an hour just talking about your hair now.
I don't know the brand, but I could probably go grab it if you really wanted to know.
Dapper, how bad do you want to know?
30 feet away from me. Let me go grab it real quick.
All right. Your camera shut off, by the way. So Max is going to get his shampoo for whoever wanted to know that. His conditioner. That's good stuff. All right. Hope that answered your question, by the way. Happy Dappy, man. I tried to give you a pretty solid little answer there. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. If you're not mind dropping a like on the video, that would be super, super appreciated. Gorilla Gang, drop some gorillas in the chat bar. If you guys are enjoying this as well, let me know in the comment section. We have not done, I've only ever brought on one streamer besides you. I think you're the second streamer that's come onto the channel.
Really?
Yeah. I brought on your pop.
So we got Ren Pure's original.
There it is.
That's what I currently have. I don't know. They should be paying me to say that.
Yeah, he's not sponsored. Not sponsored. Not sponsored.
I need some kind of hair care sponsor.
Right. Someone here saying we need a not a dead cat shirt.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be funny.
You need to have like a not a dead cat plush, like a plush toy that you could put on your desk.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice for sure. Dude, I gotta show you this meme that somebody made for me. So I got sent this on Twitter. It is so freaking cool, dude. I'm gonna send this to your phone. Give me one sec. All right, let me see. Messages. You're gonna think this is the coolest thing ever. This made my day. So I take a lot of pride in my channel and in the community we have here. We call them the Gorilla Gang. And this dude made me this picture, which I'm sending to you right now. And it's just me crouched down looking like a gorilla. Oh, so cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. I had people are so creative. You got to love how creative people are.
Oh, it's insane. It's so insane.
It's so awesome. I had someone paint me with like a samurai sword battling the hedge funds, which were depicted as tigers. So it was like me battling tigers in this big painting.
Oh, dude. That'd be sick. It's like Jesus fighting the jungle, baby. That is good.
Exactly.
They've got to make you like like walking in the desert or something with some disciples.
Exactly.
That'd be gold.
Yeah. I need to think of a name for the people on my channel. Like you got the Gorilla Gang. That's awesome.
I didn't even come up with that, man. I think I was just doing a live stream one day and somebody dropped Gorilla Gang in the comment bar and everyone just ate it up. Mm-hmm. They were like, yeah, we're the Gorilla Gang now. And I love that. That's cool. I don't take credit. I'm not that creative. I'm not that creative. Everyone's just laughing at the shampoo.
You got an awesome community here.
It's fun. It's a blast. I mean, I take a lot of pride in it. I think you could probably say the same thing about your channel, but what's really cool is as creators, right, as YouTubers, people think that we do a lot of this stuff on our own, but a lot of the stocks that I talk about, or a lot of the ideas that I bring to the channel, aren't even things that like I thought I'd be talking about. It's literally just people in the comment section or the community like saying, "Hey, this is something that I'd be interested in. Here's some information that I've come up with. You could use this or you cannot," right? And just working together with the community, we can all get so much more done than just like you or me could do by ourselves, And it's just like average people, like we're just average people, man. At the end of the day, that have a platform, and like using that platform, we can make people's voices heard. And that's what I like about my community is like, we just talk about what people want to talk about, and it's that simple.
Yeah. And I mean, also making content is kind of the best job ever, because what other job are people literally thanking you hundreds of times a day? No, nothing.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I never got thanked as a bartender.
Yeah.
Give me another beer.
Yeah. I mean, we've moved like something like 10,000 people's houses. I can't even think of more than two or three thank yous, but every single day on YouTube, people are thanking you. Like whenever people complain about hate, I'm like, it shouldn't even be a factor, because I mean, people don't even have to thank you in the first place, but yet so many people do. It's just, I mean, it's awesome.
It's definitely awesome, man, for sure. Amen to that. You've got a great mindset. That's all it comes down to. It's all mindset. There's always going to be, I'd say it's like a 99-to-1 ratio. Like you get 99 people that just freaking rock. And like, you gotta think about that. You can't let that negative bias, take your mind, but.
Yeah, exactly.
The Max Militia. Scott Andrews says you got to call your gang the Max Militia.
That's not bad. Yeah. The MM is always good.
That ain't bad. Always good. Yeah, definitely. Mine's the GG.
I feel like I need something to, oh yeah. I feel like I need to have something a little jokey though, because I'm not the most serious.
Oh yeah, definitely. Something related to shampoo. I don't know. That'd be good.
This is my branding now. I don't know if I can cut it.
No, you can't, dude. People, everybody would unsubscribe. They'd be like, "Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who took over the channel? Who took over for Max? Where'd he go?"
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Who's this imposter? I would love to just cut it one day and show up, not mention anything.
Right, man. Oh, dude. I tell you what. We've already talked about this a little bit, but there's a risk for me of getting med boarded out of the army. You wouldn't even recognize me back from when I was at St. Cloud, dude. I had hair just like yours. Hair like yours, beard, just a really scruffy beard.
Really?
And
Nice.
yeah, that's just crazy. And if I end up getting med boarded out from my heart attacks that I've had, I will 100% be growing my hair back. Not a doubt in my
Really?
mind. Yeah, I hate getting haircuts and I hate
Nice.
shaving. I hate shaving. It is so not fun. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even picture you with long hair now. Do you have a pic? You should send me a picture of that later on if you do.
Oh yeah, I'll
That's
send it. I'll send it to you later. I've showed it to people here on the
bet.
channel before, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I look rugged. I look a lot older 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Max's Monies. Mad
Yeah.
Max's
Max
Mafia.
Mains.
Max's Monkeys.
Monkey. Yeah, we can go both go with
That's gold.
the monkey trend.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. That's gold. Everyone's just dropping all these different names. Harry and the Hendersons. The Disciples.
Uh,
Apes don't shave. Yeah, I think he's talking to you,
That's
Max. I think he's talking to you.
yeah. Yeah, I got some scruff going on right now.
That's good. That's
You
good.
probably hear that in the mic.
Yeah, you got a nicer mic than I do, for sure. All right, we're gonna
Max's misfits.
the misfits, dude. Man, that's what's awesome about the comment section. I think the YouTube comment section is just a culture in itself. I love reading it.
Oh yeah.
It's a blast. Have you heard of the ticker symbol TSNP? It's a company that's about to be humble. HUMBL. This is coming from Lance. Lance says, "What's Jesus' thoughts on TSNP? Soon to be humble." If you haven't heard of it, we don't have to get into it. I can always cover it later. But if you
Let's
have,
see. No, I'm not familiar actually.
okay.
Yeah,
So
Tesoro
TSNP
Enterprises? No.
I think I don't remember for sure. I thought they were no, they're not. They're a real estate company. So this is an OTC market stock. If I decided to give a quick rundown on this, OTC market stocks are very, very, very volatile, and they're typically OTC market stocks because they don't have the best financial situation. So here you're investing in the potential for growth. So like if you want to get into a company like this, the financial situation is not going to be great. The previous growth obviously not going to be great. You're going to be basically investing in the thought that if it is going to become that humble company like you're saying, I don't know anything about it, but basically what you're betting on or investing in is the fact that once they make this changeover or there's an acquisition or there's a merger, that their financial situation is going to grow and their potential to run is going to grow. So like I don't know exactly what these guys do, but just looking at their profile, it looks like real estate operations, real estate rental, and development and operations. So somehow they're going to be able to expand the real estate business, get more houses sold, work with better management, maybe secure their margins. Maybe they find ways to cut down on costs. I'm not super up to date with real estate. I only own one property, but that'd be my 2 cents there.
Yeah, same. I would have to do it's always so hard without consistent earnings to give a realistic picture of what's going on. Because I mean, frankly, if there isn't income, there's no perfect way to value a company.
Right.
As frustrating as that is, it's just based on industry knowledge, feel, whatever your criteria is.
For sure, man. As far as technical setup goes, it does look like it found a bottom. So if you want to momentum trade this as like a swing trade, hold it for a couple days. I think you're sitting at a pretty good spot right now. It's got a micro bullish flag forming. I think a good buy-in would be somewhere around $1 and $1.01. $1. It looks like a pretty solid buy-in right now. There's a good level of support sitting right there, and it's got some nice bullish momentum. There's an engulfing candlestick pattern, which typically is a sign of a bottom out. It was bleeding for quite a while on a downward channel for like 7 days, and it finally broke out of that. So if you want to swing trade it, it does look like it's got some good momentum rolling. Only been moving for about a day.
I got to say, I saw someone in the chat said Maximillionaires, and that's pretty darn good.
Oh, there you got to roll with it. You got to roll with it. You got to roll with
That's
it.
pretty darn good.
Do it. Do it. Might as well, man. That's what's up. Money.
That's great.
All right.
A lot of people asking about HCMC. I know that's your.
Oh, I know it.
one of
I
your
know
favorites.
it. So we can talk about HCMC. So HCMC, my friends, essentially what's going on there is they've got this lawsuit, this class action lawsuit against Philip Morris for patent infringement. So they've infringed upon 2 of the patents that HCMC owns, right? Philip Morris infringed upon them with their IQOS smokeless tobacco product. And it's not guaranteed how much money they're going to make, right? But this company, Philip Morris, has, I think they estimated $3 billion invested in the IQOS system, right? And typically, me and Max talked about this. When companies go to court and they try to get lawsuits filed, you got to talk about your lawsuits that you've had filed against you. It's going to be very interesting. But people will ask for a lot more money than they're actually going to get. So let's say that HCMC asks for that full $3 billion compensation since, Philip Morris has that much money invested in the product. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to pretend like I know how much money people make in those situations, but let's just assume the worst case scenario, they pull 10% from that $3 billion, right? Which would be $300 million. That's a lot of money for that company compared to how much money they actually have generated in the previous years. So I could see it being a really solid catalyst to drive the price action up, 5, 10, 15, 20x. And that sounds crazy, but you've already seen the hype. I mean, this stock has gone up, I think 3,000% in the last couple of weeks based on the premise of what's going on here. And I would think that some of the price action is already factored in. Some of the hype is already factored in. So how much room is left to run? It's tough to say, but I do think you're getting more awareness brought to this every single day. The amount of people talking about it is increasing every day. The stock Twitch following is growing. I see more people talking about it in Discords, in Reddit. I think there's still room to run here. I know it's been pulling back, but February 26th is the date that we're expecting to hear something on it. And there's 2 different scenarios in my mind. Either A, they end up paying a settlement, which, would end basically everything from my understanding. Is that right, Max? If they paid a settlement on it?
A settlement might be best case scenario, to be honest,
right?
Because I don't know the exact cash position of HCMC, but if you compare that to Philip Morris, I guarantee it's basically scratch, nothing,
Right.
So there's also the concern of, even if they are poised to win the lawsuit, Philip Morris can probably extend the lawsuit so long that HCMC is basically broke trying to fight it.
Companies will do that too, man. That's what's crazy. If they've got more money and they've got better lawyers. Oof, I didn't even think about that. So, yeah. I mean, the settlement, it does sound like, in my personal opinion as well, would be the best situation for Philip Morris, because I think bad publicity, getting nailed for a patent infringement probably doesn't look very good and give a lot of your investors trust in the management side of things. So, I think that's honestly what would make the most sense to happen, is that settlement. And we're expecting to see something happen by February 26th. That's basically when they have to decide either A, to pay the settlement, or B, to go to court. And, I think either way, you're going to see some upside. There's a little more risk involved if they end up drawing this out further. One player that comes to mind for me is Max D. They've had a lawsuit against Google for, I think, like 10 years. And they're just finally starting to get something out of it. So... or like coming to the road's end, which is a long time in the making. But
yeah, we also have to remember in contract law, even if there's a offer for a settlement, do you know how much the settlement is for?
I haven't seen the number tossed around.
Okay. One thing about contract law is, let's say it's dated the date that you said, I think the 27th.
Yeah, the 26th.
So if it's a respond by 26th kind of thing, they can do a counter offer with a future respond by, and legally extend it even further. So that's another consideration to make.
Okay, sure. So they could counter offer a lower settlement than they're looking for, you think?
Yeah. Counter offer. It can go on for a while. And if it does go to court, do not expect this thing to be done in a month, 2 months.
Right.
Best case year, 2 years.
Sure. Okay. Talk about your lawsuit experience. This is going to give some people some comfort, because you actually have legit, because you're a business owner, and you said sometimes people will literally just sue you just to sue you. Just talk about it a little bit.
If you reach any amount of success, if you deal with enough people, you're going to get sued a few times, even if you're trying to do everything absolutely right. And really, it's a big incentive to do things right, because, I mean, I'm constantly trying to be right by people, do things on the books, and people still try to sue you. It's like, I can't even imagine how terrible my life would be if I was trying to screw people over. Just
man. I know it.
with the BS, but. Yeah, I mean, I've had, 3 different occasions where people have tried to sue me for various things. And every single time people try to ask for so much more than even a realistic number if their claim was true. I have one that's been ongoing now for 2 years, and it's just how it goes. Unfortunately, I can't give too many details on that one.
Yeah,
But
I got you.
Like for instance, we did a move one time for someone across country, and the move arrived to the location. There was a couple of small damages on items. The person that we moved claimed that the entire shipment was damaged, which obviously was ridiculous. Moving companies have what's called valuation coverage. You only have to pay 60 cents on the pound for those damages. She ended up suing us, filing a claim with our insurance company, and basically how the situation, without giving too many details, we had to basically give her the move for free. So she got like something like $9,000 in moving services for free, just because, based on the situation with like how the state handled it. It was a bad loss, and we shouldn't have lost it. But it's just cost of doing business sometimes.
Jeez, man, that's so frustrating, because even if you're trying to do everything right, sometimes that's just how it works out. I've gotten emails from people saying they've reported me to the SEC, so I feel how that goes.
Yeah, it's tough with the financial advice thing. You have to just say, and not financial advice,
Right. I've got the disclaimer. That's when I started putting the disclaimer actually in written text, because then there's absolutely no debating whether or not I have said that or I have not. So, that's what it is. I'm just gonna read out some of these super chats, because I try to respect people that take the time to donate the cash here.
You're getting tons of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm really grateful, man. I get so pumped up I talk too fast. I gotta slow down. All right. So thank you, Jorge. That means a lot. MXYZPTLK. I'm not sure how to say that, but thank you as well. Julie. So these questions regarding specific companies, guys, I don't mean to be rude by not diving into those, but to be completely honest with you, like, for us to give an in-depth analysis on that, sometimes we just don't know anything about these companies. And I want to capitalize on like Max's time here so that we can, break down some really fundamental value in terms of how you can apply this entrepreneurship into the stock market. So I'll cover these tickers. If you guys want to like come onto the next live stream that I do, where I do look at just exact tickers, right? That'd be more of a thing that we could do when I'm just streaming. But just to be respectful, my friends, I'm going to skip over those for now. Eric HNIS says, what do you think about Uami closed Friday? I feel very good about that. Uami, what a crazy, we were talking about this earlier, Max. Sometimes good news will come out and the stock will tank, and vice versa. That was a situation that made no sense at all. So Uami was a stock that got nailed for an SEC violation. They basically misfiled the direct offering that they did. I don't know the exact details, but they basically stated that a certain amount of shares were bought by companies and that the numbers didn't line up. So they got dinged by the SEC, and the stock was halted for 2 straight days. And when it opened, it went up like 20%.
Oh boy.
Which makes no sense at all. I was telling my whole Discord, I was like, guys, Uami is going to get slammed. Like, I have a sell limit set. I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to reestablish at the floor. And for whatever reason, I took off my sell limit like 20 minutes before market opened, and it went up. It was green, which makes no sense at all. I was like, just by the off chance, like, I'll watch this. Yeah. I'll watch this very close, and if something happens, then I'll get out. But makes no sense.
People want what they can't have, I suppose.
I guess.
Can't have it for 2 days.
Yeah, right. Right. I guess it's a supply. I think it's just a hype thing. I think people are anticipating upcoming news on that. But Uami's close on Friday was astronomically a win. That was a huge, huge win. That could have been green by 1 penny, and I would have been very happy with that. That was good. Thank you to Alex. So this is a question coming from MXYZ regarding the Philip Morris and HCMC lawsuit. It says, if Philip Morris settles, will they have to pay them a percentage to use their technology since all their e-cigs or whatever is based off HCMC patent? That'd be a question maybe you're more well-versed in.
It completely depends on what the offer is. They might have options to pay a flat fee or some kind of royalty fee plus a flat fee, without looking at the contract. There's no set way how to do it.
Right. So they could come to a term where they say, like, okay, maybe per e-cig, IQOS product, you guys receive a cut based off of this patent. Would that be a possibility, or they could just pay a straight up settlement?
Yeah, it could be
like whatever the way they want to arrange
that. It could be
that.
an option. Yeah. It all depends also on how tame, the settlement hearing is, which
Yeah,
chances are it's
right.
pretty tame. They could work out some kind of deal. Philip Morris also could say, we don't owe you anything because our design is slightly different in this way, and our patent lawyers say that you don't have a case. Without really looking at the details, it's so hard to
Right,
tell.
right. So to answer your question, then basically, there's a lot of complicated ways that could pan out. I know that's not the answer you're looking for. That's not the answer you're looking for. But I would rather err on the side of caution and say I don't know than give you false information. So there's definitely a scenario that is possible from my understanding and from Max's as well. But to be truthful, unless I looked at the exact filings, I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
Hmm. To really dig into it, which I mean, the price already seems to have absorbed this news. You would want to take a look at their actual patent filing and see if you could find anything on the design of Philip Morris's e-cig product, and see if there's actually a case to be made there, because that information is probably not public as far as the lawsuit goes, but like patents are public, so you could dig into that potentially and see if you can personally find anything there. But I'm not sure if that's even worth it at this point with how high the price has already gone up because of this news.
Right. And they actually talked about exactly which two patents were infringed upon as well. So if you just Google like HCMC patent infringement, it'll tell you what patents they were, and then you can dig into that as much as you want, and it'd probably have an answer for you. Big Mike says, not the time to sell Bitcoin. Elon put $1.5 billion in it. Visa, MasterCard announced accepting as payment. Institutions are just starting to get involved. That's something that I definitely have not. I mean, I did see that Elon got into this, but I didn't see the Visa MasterCard thing. That's pretty interesting. But Elon putting $1.5 billion into it,
Yeah,
that's insane. That's a lot of money. I think he took
but we
Tesla's
also
money to
have to
do that.
remember that they're not the first institutional buyers. This has been
Right.
happening consistently, especially for the last couple months, and the price reaction is near immediate. So I would think that the $1.5 billion purchase has probably already been absorbed in the price. I'm not going to say it's absolutely going to go down, but
Well, typically
it's
when
for sure reacted.
when those filings come out, where the institutions say they bought into a company, they don't buy in the instant that's filed, right? So it's probably already factored into the price by the time Elon got in. And then the news comes out, and then people buy more Bitcoin just because Elon bought Bitcoin. So it's just a snowballing effect that takes place. But
Right.
yeah, that's pretty monumental. I think that it took me so long. It took me a really long time to warm up to cryptocurrency, man. I'm not gonna lie. It sketches me out a bit, but the thing that catches my eye that I just can't let go is the American dollar depreciates in value every single year, while cryptocurrency appreciates in value. And that sticks with me, because every single year there's more money being printed. When there's more supply, there's less demand, right? So the American dollar just doesn't buy you as much from year to year anymore. And
Right.
I'm really interested in this decentralized currency side of things. I've had a couple live streams before, and people would be like super down to have like a 3-hour digging on just the upside of crypto, the downside, to do some due diligence essentially. But that's really interesting to me, this person to person transaction where it's not a centralized location. And like,
Yeah.
let me know what you think of this, but I think a potential upside is that the risk for getting hacked, or like the risk of that central system, since it's spread across thousands and hundreds of thousands of computers, is so slim, because they'd have to break into basically this network of like hundreds of thousands of computers that manage Bitcoin. So it seems like a very safe currency as well. I'd be interested to hear what you think, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, decentralization. If any one computer goes out, the ledger is still there on all of them. It's definitely the future. I feel like it's just a matter of how long does it take to adapt to that, and what kind of pushback is there going to be from like the Federal Reserve, the people who control the money supply right now. That's obviously a concern of mine. Plus, the price goes up as long as the number of crypto coins stays fixed, which I know they're saying, like, I think there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin or something like that. I might be wrong on the figure, but who's to say they don't increase it at some point?
Right.
We're kind of trusting the system that, we're going from trust to one system to another in some regard.
So what would be interesting to me is down the road, maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, what's going to happen if the government gets their hands on it and makes this a centralized currency? Then we're just back at square one.
Yeah, that's true. You would almost think that the Fed would just create their own cryptocurrency.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened.
This is the one that we back. Yeah.
Right. Doge.
It would be popular. Yeah. They should just take over
Dogecoin,
Doge.
baby. That'd be beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested to
Dogecoin
see
thing
for
is
sure.
amazing to me.
Dude, it is such an anomaly. That's the definition of a meme stock. It's people that is actually created an inherent value just by the amount of people that have bought it for the joke of it. And now it's actually worth something, which is crazy.
Yeah, I was reading an article on it too, and it's basically just a ripoff of Bitcoin. Like I guess the creator of it wasn't familiar, was familiar with code, but wasn't familiar with a lot of the technicalities of it. And he said it was pretty much a swap from the name Bitcoin in the code to the name Dogecoin in the code.
That's gold. That's gold. I love that. Dude, I just love that freaking dog on the coin. That's what makes me laugh so much. It's such a meme. He's a good boy. Dogecoin's a good boy.
That's right. I have a buddy who made like 4 or 5 grand in one day on that big spike day. A couple weeks back on Dogecoin.
When it went from like 0.02 to 0.0, I think it's actually 0.002 to like 0.009 or something. That was a crazy day. That was nuts. All it takes is Papa Musk dropping a tweet, and then you're gonna see Doge do its thing.
The amount of power.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
They're calling your group the Maxtronauts.
Okay. I wonder if it's a little, is it too much ego to have Max in the name though? That's
fair. That's fair.
Gorilla makes sense because you're like, it's a thing. It's not, Trey's Traders, which some people might refer to themselves as, but.
Right. Yeah. That didn't catch on quite as well, for sure. What is the Great Reset? Somebody here is saying, do you know about the Great Reset? Bitcoin will be 150K by 2022. I don't know what the Great Reset is. I've never heard of that.
Is it like the collapse of the dollar or something like that, I assume?
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to take a peek, though. The Great Reset. One of the greatest stories in the Bible is the Battle of David and Goliath. Is that what you're talking about?
Probably been a few Great Resets.
I
think
maybe this is talking about like a 2021 market correction. That'd be my guess. I see a video on it here. Great Reset. The name of the 50th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. I feel like there's a lot of ways this could go.
Yeah. I want to say it has to do with the crashing of the value.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Just inflation wise.
I think it's an inevitable thing for sure. Down the road, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
Every civilization falls too. And you know what? Being I've thought about this before. If the United States just as a country were to fail, now would be the best time ever for people who are like in their 20s. Because if there was some kind of big reset, we'd be poised to succeed from it. You wouldn't want to be 60, 70 years old when that happens.
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not.
So it might be the best thing to ever happen to someone who's young.
Yeah, I mean, it would. It'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting to see how the economy would change from that and the market. Like, I think we're watching the economy and the market already change, like, literally week by week in the market. Like, I've watched some crazy moves in, like, stocks that I think should be not behaving the way they are that are, and, like, vice versa. It's crazy. And the decentralization, I shouldn't say that, the collapse of the American dollar, I think is probably something that will influence, the way that the country works, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I think that's an understatement. For sure.
Yeah. I'm really dumb with this. I'm playing this down. Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. It might be kind of bad.
Might not be good. It might not be a great thing.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I want to hear on the side of caution. You're on the side of caution, man. That's what's up.
Oh, that's funny.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
God.
New world order.
I'm gonna laugh at that for a minute now. Isai, I'm not going to look at RAVN. Like I said, I just want to be respectful of Max. I think that I think it'd make more sense to talk about companies that both of us know about, so we can conserve you guys' time and stuff. Fonz is saying, yes, you have done it. You both create the total package with this content. This combo is truly a masterpiece. Your first bit together was dope. Money,
I think
man.
we plan on doing more, collaborations like this because it works pretty well.
It does. It got that energy contrast, man. You got me coked out, and you got him, zoned out. That's good stuff.
Zoned out. Yeah, I'm just sitting over here
chilling. Just chilling. No, I'm playing.
Yeah, I suppose if I don't have a ton of time left, so if there's any other good questions we can
Yeah, for
address,
sure.
anything I can help with, especially entrepreneurial wise, I'd love to add some value if possible.
Here's a good one. Philosophical. U.S. economy has done better under D presidents than R. Why? I figured the opposite would be true since R are more pro-business. So Democrats versus Republicans. He's saying the U.S. economy has done
Let me
better under
fix that real
Democrats.
quick.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. So to keep that as apolitical as possible, I think that's a great question for Max. He's saying that U.S. economy has done better under Democratic presidents than Republicans. Why? He thinks the opposite would be true since Republicans are more pro-business.
I mean, without really diving in, it's going to be a little bit of speculation, but it might have something to do with increased spending during Democratic leadership, and that might have spikes short term and then more secondary effects long term. Could be a potential reason, but yeah, I would have to dig into some research and see what exactly happens. It's so hard economically. What might benefit something short term could have the opposite effect long term, and vice versa. So it could have something to do with a ton of extra spending or various programs that help short term or something like that.
That would make sense. I could see that. I don't like talking about politics, man. Gosh, that's a hard question.
I'm pretty good at
answer.
keeping it non-biased.
I know you're good. You're good at that. You're good at that. I try to be very, very careful with politics. I think, to be blunt, you can see a strong market under both the Democratic and Republican presidents. I think a lot of it depends on the sentiment of the country towards the president. So if you've got a president that's, for example, like Joe Biden, you're going to see a shift in what plays are going to succeed. So like with Joe Biden in office, you see a lot of people speculating that cannabis will do well, that green energy is going to do well, that rare earth metals are going to do well since, China is, we're considering cutting off, ties with transport, right? So there's all sorts of, I think it's just a shift, right? You see a shift in what succeeds and what doesn't. So like Trump was in office, for example, and you saw there was quite a bit of money flowing into like big banks and stuff. And up until COVID, when we saw banks took a pretty big hit, banks are doing pretty well. And that's my 2 cents there. But I'd personally say it's just a shift. You see a shift in money where money's going. I think that unless we're in a really bearish market, you always see about the same amount of money moving around depending on the time of year. I think December is typically when you see the least amount of money. Maybe the most bearish action because people pull profits so they can buy Christmas stuff. But I think it's just a shift in money. But
yeah, I'd also have to take a look at the figures too.
Right, totally.
That on average, pretty much every presidency, the markets are better at the end just because time passes.
Totally.
But if the difference between like a Republican office and a Democratic office is like 2% better with Democratic, it could just simply be random also.
It could be, yeah. That's a good philosophical question, though. That's something I think I'm going to look into a little bit more down the road. How much time you got left, Max? When are you trying to get out of here by?
We could do another like 10, 15 minutes or something like that.
Sweet. Sounds good. I've got some people in here that have said I want them to get married. That's awesome. I don't think my girlfriend would like that. I think she'd be a little sad.
Yeah, mine either.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'll have to understand.
I guess so. Well, I'll bring it to her. She'll be all right. She'll be all right. All right. So thank you to Alex. Thank you to Lion's Heart as well. Black Sheep. Do you know what the Great Reset is? Bitcoin will be 150K by the end of the year. You both should watch the documentary Planet Lockdown on BitChute. Planet Lockdown. I don't think I've heard of that, but I'm going to write that down in my notes.
Yeah.
I still don't know what that is. There are some people that are in the comment section saying that it's not a conspiracy. So I'm guessing it's some sort of market correction. The Great Reset is no conspiracy. The globalists have already planned this for the next industrial revolution. Watch. You can find this on their own website. Everyone is on it, even Bono. They will take, I'm not entirely sure what, I'd have to look into it. I honestly just don't know what the Great Reset is.
Yeah, I would have to look into it as well. I mean, even if it's not a conspiracy, it's got to be a theory of some kind.
Right. Planet Lockdown. Yeah, I've got, I might as well watch that here later tonight. That looks good. So, Heather's Nest Egg says, follow you both. Thank you for your educated opinions. What do you think about the rumors that Tesla is manipulating CCIV stock? I haven't even heard that. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that either.
Hmm.
So sorry, I don't exactly have an opinion on it.
Well, here's what I'll say. I'll say the inner mechanisms of the market are incredibly not talked about, first off, and delicate. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens. So for example, just myself with a 120K YouTube channel, I have already had companies reach out to me asking me to pump their stock, and I'm not even a big deal. You know, so that happens. That 100% happens. And if that happens to me with a relatively small YouTube channel, you can only imagine what's happening behind the scenes with these actual companies. So there's 100% in my mind. I mean, I can only speculate, but my speculation is that it's possible. I mean, I definitely think there's stuff that happens behind the scenes where you see companies that manipulate stock prices on other companies, because all the money that goes into CCIV, right? That's just money that's not going to Tesla. So it's not to say that Elon Musk is doing that, but it's to say that that probably does happen with companies. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible by any means. A tweet by Elon Musk can make something skyrocket. We've seen that. I do think at this point, a healthy competitor to Tesla might be the best thing to ever happen to Tesla, because people love to take a side. You know,
right? Yeah.
You know, like if we had YouTuber beef between me and you, we'd probably both see our subscribers go up dramatically, because people would want to choose. They'd want to choose a side. That's why that's why there's drama on YouTube, because that exact reason.
You want to pick shit, huh?
Yeah, let's start it.
No, that's not my vibe. Well,
Yeah,
there's YouTube channels out there that smack talk me, so maybe we just got to start something. No, I'm kidding. I couldn't do it. That's not me. You ever run into that kind of issue where you've got, channels that take beef against you?
If I have, it's been not really noticeable, or I don't
Sure.
really remember it. If I have, I don't think I've ever had like a bigger channel for sure, say anything, but I'm sure there's been mentions. I don't know. I do try really hard to make sure all my facts are straight, so there's not much to argue. Which, I mean, I don't really stir much drama, which might be to my detriment.
Infamy is fame, I guess.
Yeah.
I think this is very interesting. It kind of speaks on exactly what you're saying. When Robinhood got slammed for their collateral issues and for not allowing trading or liquidizing accounts, they actually saw a spike in Robinhood users. I had heard that. Have you heard that? Just attention. It's what gets my attention is like Uami, for instance, just got that attention on that negative news, and the attention to me drove the stock price. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like any attention, good or bad, exactly. That's
yeah.
exactly what I'm saying. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like about that hearing. About a solid hour of it felt like a commercial for Robinhood.
Dude, I was saying the same thing. Congressman, thank you so much for the opportunity to answer this question. Wasted 30 seconds every single time you just say that. Never answered anything.
You could tell it was so rehearsed, rehearsing their answers and stuff. How it's formatted, how those hearings are formatted is done in such a poor way. I mean, I understand they want, representatives want to get their piece in, but really they should have like 5-10 experts ask the questions, in my opinion, anyways.
Right. Yeah, Vlad, he kind of reminds me of, not that I've got anything against Mark Zuckerberg, but he reminds me of Mark Zuckerberg in a lot of ways. Like, just knows the ins and outs of how to answer questions without answering questions, which just accomplishes nothing, It's just like you were saying, it was just basically advertising his company in front of everybody watching.
Yeah, I mean, they're all just rehearsing this. There's actually a really interesting video of Bill Gates when he was in a deposition about some antitrust suits, like I think back in like 1999, and he is such a pro at dodging questions and twisting them. Like it's bad, but it's also just so interesting at the same time how much of an expert he was at it. He just makes the judge seem like inept. It's worth watching. It's definitely on YouTube. Like Bill Gates antitrust.
I'm going to write that down
deposition.
too.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Antitrust deposition. Sweet. Well, we are going to answer a couple more questions here. Be respectful of Max's time. If you guys want to check out his channel, it is linked to the top of the chat bar right here. He's got great entrepreneurial advice. He is also an investor, very intelligent man. He's got some awesome, sexy hair. If you ladies out there into it's a nice Tarzan Jesus hair, check that out. we will answer 2 more questions here for Max, and then just let him get on with his day. Question for Max: what color does the number 7 smell like? What the heck?
Smells like average to me.
Yeah.
Whenever I ask someone, this is a little trick I use. So we'll have a little trick here that's very useful. When you ask someone, how do you rate this from 1 to 10? A better way to ask that is, how do you rate this from 1 to 10 without using 7? Because people always use 7.
Yeah.
And a 6 gives you a lot of information, and 8 gives you a lot of information. 7 doesn't really give you much information.
That's good. I'm gonna remember that. Hey, take that away. That's a good answer to his question. That's what it smells like. Smells like a number with not a lot of information.
Smells like a C+.
A C+. I love that. That's good. All right. So this is actually something that would be a great question for you. What's your take on Sundial? They generated $80 million with a warrant exchange. You did a lot of number crunching on Sundial. I know that off the top of my head. So that's coming from Chris Hernandez. What is your take on Sundial's potential short-term and long-term?
I don't know anything about the $80 million. Is that like very recent news?
There's a link here. So it's newcannabisadventures.com/ I'll just check this link out. But I'm guessing it was a warrant. So 89 million with warrant exchange. I'll pull up a link. So they got $89 million with the warrant exchange. Sundial announces issuance of new warrants and US $89.1 million proceeds from warrant exercises.
I don't know if this is a dumb question, but I actually don't even know what that means.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I'll just pull it up so that we can explain it to everybody. Warrants and stocks. We'll just explain what it is. A stock warrant is the right to purchase newly issued shares of a stock at a certain price for a certain period of time. The stock is issued directly by the company. That's essentially what a stock warrant is. While a stock warrant gives the holder the right to purchase, the owner does not yet own any stock.
Okay, so it's kind of like a stock option in...
Correct, similar, yeah.
Okay, cool. My thoughts on Sundial is if you're looking for a hype play, it might be a good buy hype-wise, depending on if the popularity is still there, maybe if the technicals are still there, if the sentiment is still there. If you're looking for a good value play on cannabis, odds are there's many other better options. Pretty much the whole industry is overvalued, in my opinion, but that might be for good reason. Sundial is at the top of the list as far as overvalued. Even after the price correction, we're looking at sales to market cap of 2 to 3x companies like Canopy Growth, Tilray, and like 10x companies that have 5 times more sales than them. So right now they're one of the smallest players in Canada. As of last week, anyways, there was no plans of moving to the U.S. And just for context, Canada's market for pot is the exact same size or very close to that of just the state of California, size wise. It's about like $7.3 billion in Canada, $7.8 billion in California, just for some context. And you're buying in at an extremely high price relative to competitors, and a purchase is betting that this company that holds about 3% of Canada's market share is going to be able to capture about 40% and take it away from everyone else who started multiple years before them. So if you look into it and you feel like, yes, they can do that, and yes, they can increase sales by about 40x what they're currently at, then it could be a good value play. But I think just placing your bet on which one of these is going to be the peak, because with a lot of these industries, we're going to see the long tail. You're going to have 1 or 2 people at the top, companies at the top, and then it's going to, slide down. There's going to be a long tail of mini companies.
Right.
Now with the high stock price, it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy where they're able to do a bunch of roll-ups by some competitors, except we have to remember all their competitors are also overvalued. So that makes that harder to do. But they could do a roll-up, increase their market share by a decent amount, have more of a fighting chance to beat the bigger players. But you'd be betting that they're able to do that and able to do that profitably.
Yeah, man. I think the thing that really caught my attention is finding the 1 or 2 big players at the top of the mountain, because I think there's going to end up being a monopolizing cannabis play out there. I think that exists, but I don't feel sold that it's going to be Sundial. You know what I mean? I think it's it's a matter of finding those cannabis companies like Sundial to me. And I know there's probably gonna be people that don't agree with this because it is a hype play. It's a play that just has a lot of attention because it has a lot of attention. Like for whatever reason or another, there's a culture around Sundial, SNDL, and people like the stock just because of that, which is good. Like it's important to factor in sentiment. Like Sundial has a lot of sentiment, and that is going to drive, in the short term, price action. But is that sustainable? Is it sustainable to see 1 billion shares traded every single day? Probably not. No. So to me, it'd be a matter of finding the company that's going to be that monster, like you're saying, like that monster cannabis company that's going to be able to monopolize and sell, like commercialize and branch out across the entire U.S. or maybe Canada or whatever it is, whatever country they're from. But I don't know if it's Sundial. I don't know if it's Sundial yet. I think in the short term it's got potential though. In the short term for sure. I think there's a lot of short term swing potential.
Exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of the question I'm asking myself. I plan on doing more research into the industry and finding which player I think is absolutely best. And there are good things about Sundial. They have no debt. Their sales are increasing dramatically. It's not a bad company. Really, most of my deciding factor is how high the price is right now.
For sure. All right, so we'll ask you one more question since that other one was kind of goofy, and then we'll let you get on with your day, my friend. This is coming from the chat bar. It says, Max, question. Can we analyze Northern Dynasty's holdings NAC? Have you heard about that before?
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay. So that is, I can answer that question down the road, my friend. I'll be respectful of Max, but NAC I have covered on the channel. If you do want to check out a video on that, you can do that. But NAC essentially, if I remember correctly, is a mining company. Let me just double check again so I can make sure on that. Yeah, they're a mineral exploration company. So working with different metals and mining, mineral resources, integrated mining, that sort of stuff. But I'll put out a video on that in the future, my friends, just to be respectful of Max's time. So, do you mind answering one more? Is that okay?
I saw a question that maybe it's kind of a little bit off topic, but maybe we cool. Can have some good insight too. Someone asked, do we have any tips for feeling depressed?
That is a good question. Definitely, man.
Yeah. Because I think it's not talked about enough, especially in, people who are striving for success or are successful, because everyone has, down periods. And I know for myself, an idle mind is kind of a depressed mind. So I just have to keep going and keep working at things and recognize there's ups and downs.
Man, you said what I was going to say in a much smarter way. An idle mind is a depressed mind. I could see that because I find when I'm the saddest, man, is when I'm not doing something, when I don't have something to chase. Like we talked about this on your channel, man. When I quit running because I had my heart attacks and like I got told by the doctor, dude, if you keep running, you're gonna die. I was like, well, shit. What do I do now? Like my entire life at that point, I had spent 12 or 13 years training to qualify for the Olympic trials in the marathon. And it's to be told that I had to quit after I thought maybe within a year I could do it. Like I was close. The time was 2:19. To make it, I run 2:24. So I was really knocking it down. To be told I had to stop, like I had nothing to do. My mind was idle, like you're saying. Like I just had nothing. I had nothing to chase. And that is where depression came from for me. So it's like whatever that means for you to occupy your brain and to feel like you have something to give you a purpose. Like to me, the purpose is where happiness comes from. It's like waking up every day and finding that thing that wakes you up in the morning. Like I genuinely get excited. I don't know about you, Max, to wake up every day and make YouTube videos and to look in the stock market. Like it's genuinely fun. And like finding that thing that's fun, that gets you out of bed, that to me really helps depression a lot. It's just like having something to get to chase, that work towards every day.
Yeah, you need to have goals, and I mean, I'm on the addictive end of the spectrum.
I think we both are.
Every single day, I'm just like, I need to be just a tiny bit better than I was the day before, and I do that, with my moving company, with my YouTube channel. I play piano every single day. I work out, 5-6 days a week. So it's like I have all these different little things that I'm constantly getting a little bit better at, and that's what makes me get out of slumps. Is seeing any progress, really.
Definitely, man. I think the last thing that I want to say about that, about depression, I've had a couple people in my life that have just killed themselves, and so that's a touchy subject for me. It's something that really it makes me sad because I've lost a lot of friends that way. And what I want to say about that is there is always an inherent tomorrow. No matter how bad things seem, no matter how depressed you are, there's always going to be an end to that line. Like, imagine, I never thought a year ago that I'd be having this conversation with you, Max. I never thought a year ago that I'd be on YouTube even. I never thought a year ago that I would have an investing channel. Like, sometimes the connections that you make and the situations that come in your life, you can't predict that, right? Like, I 5 years ago, I wanted to be a nurse, so things really change, every day that you keep stepping forward and you try, like, making that next step towards the end of the tunnel, like, the time will come, there's always going to be a way for you to get out of that hole that you're in. So I just think you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and just keep going for tomorrow and waiting for the next day.
Yeah. And focus on yourself too. I think there's also an issue where being a little bit selfish is frowned upon. And I think there's a stigma around that when there shouldn't be, because frankly, if you don't have anything, you should be selfish. You should be selfish, put yourself in a better position, because in the long run, that'll put those around you in a better position. It's just the way the world works. So, when you're young, you kind of have to be a little selfish, focus just on yourself, and both your life will be better and your loved one's life will be better. And I think that's another driving factor of just feeling fulfilled.
It's a really crazy thing, man, in society now, is this idea that being selfish is bad when you need to take care of yourself. Like, like if somebody offers to pay for my meals sometimes, like back a couple of years ago when I was in not a good financial place, like people would offer to pay for my meal and I just wouldn't let them, because like it's like you feel that pressure, you know what I'm talking about? Like, just to take care of yourself, even if you can't, and people are offering their help, but it's crazy, man. I definitely that's some good insight for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to let Max get on with his day here. I hope that you guys got some value out of this live stream. Like I said before, check out his channel. He's an absolute wizard. You can call him Stock Jesus. You can call him Maximilian, whatever you want to call him. This dude is a G. So show him some love, Gorilla Gang. I absolutely love that we had him on today. Drop some gorillas in the chat.
This is a blast.
It was awesome.
Thanks, Gorilla Gang. Thanks for having me, all you apes and monkeys and chimps.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Any last words before you head out here for the day?
No, this was a blast. We got to do this again sometime. You got an awesome audience, and I had a lot of fun.
Rock on, brother. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Well, I'm gonna recognize the rest of these super chats. You can log off here. I want to just be respectful of everybody else. Thanks for logging in, man. Great to see you again. We'll chat again in just a little bit.
Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon, Trey.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a text, man.
Bye.
Peace. So I just want to recognize the rest of these super chats. We have been streaming here for about 3 hours, just under 3 hours. So I just want to recognize everybody. Nicholas, I am going to be putting out a video talking about option call trading in the future. So I will explain that, but essentially, strike and break even price. The strike price is the strike that you will be not obligated to, but entitled to buying those shares at if you are interested in doing that. And the break even is typically a little bit above that strike price. But I will talk about that in the future. Thank you to Reliot. Thank you to Chris, Desert Maid, Kevin. Everybody loves Zay, Gage, Kyle, Ghetto, Joey, Isaiah, and Reese, and everybody else here in the chat bar. I know that I don't get the opportunity to answer all of the chats, all the people that take the opportunity to watch these videos and support the channel, but I genuinely do appreciate everybody here immensely. So we're going to call it here for this live stream. I'll be putting out a couple more videos here later today, but I appreciate everybody immensely. Thank you, Gorilla Gang. If you would not mind dropping a like on the video before you head out, that would mean a lot to me, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, my friends, and peace.